6, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane by to visit Glen Rock, need crypto, told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. Who you with?
Okay, special episode today, but first let me remind you guys that we are partners with Super Feast. Go ahead and get your mushrooms here, your reishi, your lion's mane, deer antler. Yes, the deer antler is available at superfeast.com. Promo code RC now at checkout and you get a discount. The QR code's on the screen for people watching on YouTube. If you want to go ahead and check that out, we have many episodes covering it, including with CEO Mason Taylor on there. So everybody check out Superfeast. Again, promo code RC now at checkout. Now that we've got that out of the way, and by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to us here. We'd like to do some more live stuff on YouTube. So let's get those subscriber numbers up. Even if you don't listen on there, you will reap the rewards if our YouTube page grows, even as an audio listener. But of course, today I have a man who needs no introduction on here. He'll get one because that's just how we do it here. But it's Matt Fresta. He's been on more episodes of Rare Candy than some podcasts have episodes. I think it's probably close to 20 times. I mean, there's a lot of failed 9-episode podcasts out there, or limited podcast series out there. I think you've eclipsed those just by appearances on our channel and show. So he's the co-host of Getting Lit. We've collaborated quite a bit with that podcast as well. But you are a music head. You are, you are as much of a music head, if not more, than maybe literature. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Just because I was as a kid more into music than I didn't read that many books when I was a kid. It wasn't until I was about 30 that I started really crunching books. So yeah, you know what I mean. It's just what I've been most of my life. It's been my main interest.
Yeah, I mean. I'm the same way. I did read books as a kid, but I mean, books, you have to sit down and read them. Music can be playing in so many different facets. My parents always had music playing, whether it was time to clean the house on Sundays, road trips, just all the time music playing. And now today's band was just constantly in my house as a kid. And I've had a kind of interesting relationship with this band. We are covering the Rolling Stones, of course. And I don't really want to do a long banter at the beginning of it because we have a lot to discuss. We're gonna try to get everything. And there's always the intimidating aspect of this is that I'm already planning for the Stones Spurgs in the comments. That was 1968. I did shit like that where I'm okay, sorry, we might miss a few things on years and stuff. I do not consider myself a Stones historian, but they are such an interesting group. So much content, so many milestones, so many bad things have happened. It is wild. Now, for this episode, we've done I've done 2 books on the Stones. You did a third. You did the Ronnie Wood, correct?
I've got 20 pages to go on Ronnie's book.
Well,
but yeah,
I think
basically read it.
I think you've got the.
I don't think there's going to be anything in the last 20 pages wrong.
He doesn't die at the end. Spoiler alert: he's still alive. So there's no. Yeah, he's still rolling. But so you've done that. We both did the fantastic, phenomenal Keith Richards memoir, which I believe should be called Built Different. Is what I think the book should have been called, because that's the whole book is you can't do what I do. Everyone dies trying. And and he's hilarious. He is one of the coolest people to ever make music at all. He's so cool. And then also which I did not quite finish just yet, but I have 2 hours left on the audio book. But again, I got the gist of it, was the Stanley Booth Adventures of the Rolling Stones, which is also great. That is I cannot believe that book exists. I would
it's
never
a more
allow
literary one kind of thing, he's sort of, because starts with a Norman Mailer quote, and then later he's quoting Goethe or maybe not Goethe, but people like that, he goes across the literary canon
It's very Kerouac too. It's like
Yeah.
it's very of the time kind of like a Kerouac situation. So we've done that, and I've done. I mean, I'm pretty well versed in the Stones musical catalog because I'll get to my history with them here in a second. But I did 4 consecutive listens of their discography, everything, and
Yeah.
when I say everything, well, you didn't get the summer tour festival. Yeah, maybe I missed that. Maybe I missed that. Okay,
I definitely didn't get to all the live albums.
No, but I did every studio album that exists that is available on streaming, UK and US, because that's a thing. And I did that 4 times, which it actually is not as intimidating as you think, because they kind of stopped making music all the time after 1986, you know. So like they kind of just they kind of slow down. They just make albums to tour off of every couple of years. So it's not as bad once you get through there. So we'll discuss more or less every Rolling Stones album. You know, some more than others, of course. Like I don't have a lot of Hackney Diamonds takes. It's not bad, but it's
decent.
It's not embarrassing. None of it's embarrassing. That's one thing about yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was gonna say it's a very poppy album. Like it feels like they had like I didn't look into it, but like it feels like they had some producer helping them like make the song sound a bit more poppy. And the song with Lady Gaga is really good.
It's good. It's great. And the Sydney Sweeney video song is great too. It's Angry, I think it is, or whatever. Yeah, that's great.
That's like the first track, right?
And I love that they're like, "Who's the hottest girl right now in the group, mate?" Like, and they're you know, like Mick Jagger watches, because Mick Jagger totally watches Euphoria. I have zero qualms that I think he watches all A24s. He's super tapped into like Zoomer pop culture. He was talking about Zara Larsson the other day, the like Swedish.
I don't even know who that is.
That's how I found out. Apparently she's huge. And like Mick Jagger's old ass, he's like listening to it. And then there's Mick Jagger's also supposed to be in some movie called some A24 movie coming up soon as like a dad in a movie called The Incestuous Sisters, I want to say. He's supposed to like he's back to acting again, which that didn't go well the first time, but we'll see, you know, like we'll see how that works. We'll talk about some of that too. So what's your history with the Rolling Stones?
My first memory was as when I was a kid. I was maybe like 6 or 7. I really got into that band Oasis. And then like my dad's first reaction was like, oh, they're just ripping off the Stones and the Beatles. And they kind of made it this like antagonistic thing where, and then I remember he played me some Rolling Stones. I don't know what it was. It might've been, Voodoo Lounge, because that would have been the latest album out.
That's a crazy album to introduce your son to. To
I wish I could. I remember though at the time. I don't know what. So it could have maybe he played me a best of. I have no idea. Like, but I remember the time thinking it didn't sound bad, but because he told me like that Oasis sucks, I was like, nah, this sucks. You know, like And so
I know what you mean. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had this, and then like he's always playing those albums. Like I remember, like when I put on Voodoo Lounge now, like I'm just like, this reminds me of sitting like in like the lounge room playing the Nintendo with the volume on silent while Dad's playing his CDs and stuff. So so it was always in the background, and like I remember at one point he bought like well, you'd call it a hot tub, but we call it a spa bath in Australia. Like so he just bought this like hot tub, and as a kid I was like, this is so boring. I want a pool to swim around in, but he just wanted to relax. But like he'd always be playing like his music. So like there's sort of a style of music like Van Morrison particularly that I associate as like hot tub music kind of thing. So like it was always
fucking rules. First off, you're dad.
Yeah.
All right. I think people are like maybe thinking like not like making fun. That's how I talk about my parents too. Like, yeah, they were into this, but it's awesome. Like, guy listening to Voodoo Lounge and Van Morrison in your hot tub is amazing.
So eventually though, like when I was like a teenager, I got into skating, and so skate videos, you know, back in the golden days, they didn't like license music, so they'd have like Beatles tracks or Stones tracks, and so I started like before that my music tasted like when I was about 12 it was like Slipknot and new metal kind of stuff, but then like I went through a little Nirvana phase, and then I went like, because of skate videos, went to like an oldie, like at my school everyone was saying I listened to like old fogey music because I was like into like Led Zeppelin and Paul Simon, but I was keeping it a secret from my dad because we still had that thing where like I didn't want to admit that his music was cool. And one day my mom comes home and she busts me like playing the Paul Simon Graceland on his CD player, like, and so she tells him, and he's like, one day in a car ride, it's like, so I heard you were listening to Paul Simon, and then it was just like, all right, give me the fucking lowdown. What are some other good bands to listen? And I just went through his CD collection. And yeah, I remember there was a Stone song. I think it was "Play with Fire" and "Osiris the Storm." It was Chad Fernandez's part. And so I don't know. I think like the first songs I remember really getting into were like "Paint It Black," "Let's Spend the Night Together," "Jumpin' Jack Flash," all the kind of riffy ones. Obviously, like "Start Me Up" and "It's Only Rock and Roll." But I think I would have he probably like the 40 Licks CD maybe was out.
40 Licks.
Yeah. 40 Licks. So it was some best of that, like he didn't have all their albums. He had like the 90s albums and then just like a double CD best of. So whatever that was available in 2003, that was the one I would have listened to a ton as a teenager.
Amazing. We have so much overlapping there, particularly the skate videos. Like that, I remember Rolling Stones as a skate video band. It was I don't know if I can't say it's ironic that they were in there. Like, I think they were in there because it sounded sick, but I think it was like you'll never believe how cool this sounds with someone skating, to it, because like this is a thing that didn't even exist when Paint It Black was made or something. Like, so it's kind of, or didn't exist to British guys and, that were making this music, this sitar, hippie-ish music. And so I grew up a classic rock fan. I loved my parents' discography. I had a little bit of the thing is they liked a lot of my music. Like my mom liked Weezer, the Blue Album, like, and we both would have it. So like, it was kind of like we both had things we liked. Once it started getting into like Eminem and stuff, she was like, this is bad. That was when she started kind of branching away from like the current music thing. But my mom still listens to like modern pop, and she'll call me and she'll be like, Gracie Abrams, I don't get it. And I'm like, I'm too old for that now. I don't even understand what that music is at this point. So it's very funny. She still keeps very much up with popular music because she listens to, I think there's just podcasts full of like 30-year-old gay guys that talk about pop music on like NPR. So I think there's just are endless of them, I think, where it's like just 30-year-old Democrat guys talking about pop music, and all these older people that listen to NPR feel the need to like, well, I must keep up with this because they grew up with bands like the Stones, and they're like, there's obviously the kids are doing something cool, and I'm like, it's not always the case.
Yeah, not
necessarily, whatever. So anyways, growing up, you brought up the 40 Licks CD. This was a very common Gen X / boomer parent thing, was once they had kids, they didn't have endless space for CDs everywhere. So they would consolidate and they would go with the hits. They would get the greatest hits album. And the 40 Licks thing is 40 hits. So it's like you got their hits, but also some kind of like, this is just songs people like. They weren't necessarily hits, but these are just kind of like not deep cuts, but album cuts that kind of maybe were popular by a movie. Martin Scorsese might have made these songs a little more popular than they were here and there, and they'd be on there. And I remember that CD all the time. But my thing is, as a kid, I was resistant to them a little bit. The Stones, like as a band, I remember thinking like, the good stuff's good, the bad stuff's really bad. I kind of still feel that way, but I think there's way more good stuff than I did before. It's not 50-50. It's like 80-20 in my opinion. I'm like, wow, for a band that never really broke up and went through all these different eras and how old they are. I keep forgetting how like this is like 1963 they're making some of these songs. JFK, they're talking about JFK dying like during one of their studio sessions. I was like, this is nuts how old these guys are. But there's just so much good stuff to it. But as a kid, I remember they were also the band where like if I grew up loving Led Zeppelin. That was my dad's band. My mom was Beatles, Stones, Tom Petty, and Motown. Like that was kind of where, and which I love all of that stuff too. But my dad was Zeppelin, Sabbath, Guy Rock, and then but it was funny. My dad would also have like Jagged Little Pill in the car, and then like Fiona Apple CDs. Like he loved to like rock super hard, but he loved like 90s chick rock too. Like
my dad liked the like 90s butt rock. Like he liked Matchbox 20 and Hootie and the Blowfish and Counting Crows and all of that. And like I didn't mind that stuff when I was a kid too. So that's what stuff before I got into like older music. Like those were the bands that we kind of both liked. Was the Matchbox 20 CD.
The Matchbox 20 album cover with the guy with the leather thing on it.
Yeah, that's the one.
I will never forget that image ever. Like,
Yourself or Someone Like You, I think it's called.
I spun the hell out of that album, and it like actually kind of holds up. They were playing it at my work the other day. Like Zoomers are discovering them a little bit, and I was like, this is kind of nice. I was listening to it, I was like, this ain't half bad. Like it's
that opening track or whatever is pretty good. I forget what it's called, but yeah, if I hear that on the radio, I'm still like, yeah, it's good memories.
Sure. And so I was resistant though, because I'd go to school and like I hung out with like classic rock guys at school, and like, you know, there was like these kids that would like dress like the Beatles at school kind of, but like their outfits would come from Hot Topic, so it was kind of funny. Like it was like people were trying to do that. I hung out with a lot of like rockers as well as like jocks during middle school, and this was like kind of when I was going through these discoveries of like old music and things. And I liked Zeppelin, I liked Sabbath, I liked all that stuff. And anytime I'd bring those bands up, they'd go, Stones are better. And it was that what you had with your dad, I was kind of like having that with my friends, because I'm like, I don't know if that's true. And, you know, to this day, who cares? Like, like who cares who's better? Like we get to just enjoy it. You know, I get at the time maybe like latching on to like, I'm a Stones guy, I'm not as into the Beatles. I like I like the street fighting, breaking window music. Like I understand that at the time, but now I'm just like, I'm such a Unitarian with like classic rock. I'm like, no, it's all, I don't care if these guys hated each other, loved each other. This is all great. And I need to hoard it like a precious resource. And then the skate video. When I was in high school, I had kind of like moved off of the Stones for a while. I was like, that's just like my mom's music, whatever. I'm listening to rap now and all this stuff. And I remember seeing a skate video of like a guy who was like not even good at my school, but he made a skate video. And it was cool to see him like tearing up the quad, you know.
And my
like,
friends do that.
Yeah. And then, but I heard Paint It Black in the skate video. And to me, it just gave that song new life. Like I was just like, wow, it's funny how that happens. And like the Stones are a very cinematic band, so it makes sense that this happens. Their music is used in countless movies, and it's brought to life. And, you know, they are very well versed in like film and literature and all of these things. So it makes sense. I remember that being brought to life and just going like, wow, this is incredible. I remember just getting into like a lot of soul, R&B and soul and stuff. And a lot of that is the Stones are very much intersected into all of that. And then I think in the last year, I will say, as lame as it was, what got me to do this again, and I have to get back into the Stones, was I do like kind of like drunk music nights at my house with my wife, where we just put on like fucking YouTube or whatever, and just, you know, just keep drinking and stuff. And the Some Girls tour, like I bought the DVD and everything after a while, and it's 78. I stand by that as the greatest performance they've ever done.
Put on the TV right now.
It's so fucking good. And the fans, how sweaty they are, and the fans, the ceiling fans in that hot Texas venue. And I remember their version of Beast of Burden on that is just like otherworldly. Like Mick sounds like better than he ever could in any studio. Like it's just because sometimes Mick live does these dumb affectations that you're like, don't do that. You know, you're like, you don't need to be a Southern preacher right now. Like it's and
sometimes he is a bit too much live. Yeah, I'll watch live. I didn't used to like them as a live band, and part of it was like because of Mick and stuff, but but I don't know, this whole like binging of them has just like made me just like love each of them so much more. That like
so good.
Yeah.
When he's like in the zone and he like does the improvisation correctly. You know, a good example of it is the Rock and Roll Circus performance of No Expectations, where I think so that song kind of sucks on the album. Like it's really flat and boring on the album. The actual
Biggest Banquet.
Yeah, I don't think that version of it's very good. I think it's fine. It's listenable or anything. It's brought to life on the rock because it's because of his vocals. Like he's too calm on the regular one, and like, but he's like really brings it to life on the Rock and Roll Circuit. I only listen to that version when I listen to it now. That's on streaming and stuff. So again, we'll have plenty of these contentious things that we talk about here.
Oh yeah.
but I just remember like watching it, I'm like, I need to do a Stones deep dive again. Like I think I'm finally mature enough to really process everything without some dumb little idiot in my ear from middle school, without, you know, skate videos, without any of these things. And then also watching the Darjeeling Limited when they dropped Play with Fire, I was like, damn, that's a really good needle drop. And needle drops are kind of Reddit, whatever, who cares? But when Angelica Houston and they're at that monastery with Angelica Houston, they start playing Play with Fire, I was like, Man, I'm like, there's just eras of Stones you forget about where you're just like, I forgot about the weird, like quirky British hippie aspect of the Stones that was actually really cool. The harpsichord, like Lady Jane Stones.
Yeah,
you know, like,
yeah.
or you're just like British nonsense, but it's really good. So we're here now, and we've been planning this for over a year. That's how most music episodes on RC are. Every single time, the Prince episode, the Miles Davis episode, these were things that take forever to get done, mostly because it's really intimidating. We're going to get you right back to the episode, but I just wanted to let you guys know of a few other things we offer at Rare Candy Industries. We have a Substack with free and paid subscription options. Free subscribers get access to all written content. That includes Bob's Red Pill. That's the best thing going on the internet right now. Trust me. Paid subscribers get full access to our premium episode feed. And that's just every episode we don't necessarily want to share with the general public, if you know what I'm saying. Again, that's rarecandy.substack.com. We also have merch. That link's a little long for me to say right now, but go to the description, go to our merch store, and find a shirt that's right for you. We have Rare Candy shirts, Dr. Bronner soap label shirts, Rishi mushroom shirts, all types of stuff there. Check it out. There's got to be something for you. And lastly, check us out on social media. On Instagram, we're Rare Candy Pod, but on Twitter, we're at Rare Candy Pod 1. All right, enough of that. Let's get you back into the episode. Let's start at the beginning. Let's just do it. Let's just start at the beginning. I love the way Mick Jagger and Keith Richards met. It's amazing. I love their relationship throughout it. Even the kind of business relationship that they have now, despite just being two old queens that just bickering queens at each other, but they both just love this shit so much. And it's almost like not a prison sense, because that sounds too morbid, but they're like, we're gonna do this forever. We're going to die doing this. And I hate you, kind of, but I still love you. Like, they're going to weep when each other die. I mean, they're going to weep. They're going to, like, I bet you they die back to back. I hate to say it, but like, I bet you it's like with it, like, it's like how, like, you know, you hear about like husbands and wives sometimes, like when they're like,
in the Ronnie book, there's a quote where like Ronnie says, like, Keith's like, yeah, Mick's basically my wife.
It's so true. And Mick's the girl for sure. That's the dichotomy too. It's absolutely the girl. I love Mick Jagger. It's always gonna sound like I'm hating on him. I love him. No,
I love them all.
He is the straightest gay man of all time.
Yeah.
Like, cause he's totally like, oh, I like her over there with the boots. She's got those beautiful boots on. And then it's like he has sex with like an entire staff of women. And it's like Prince. It's like Prince in a way, like where it's just like, and he's just like the way he processes it, and you're like, that guy's had more sex than anyone in the history of the world, like with women and stuff, but like the way he conducts himself, and his pop star curation, he's like Taylor Swift, where like you only gonna know things about Taylor Swift that she wants you to know. There's just not a lot of, like, Mick doesn't divulge anything. It like never comes from him. It's all other people would be like. I was surprised on the Crossfire Hurricane documentary, which is very good. I highly recommend it. Where they show Mick doing like a knife bump of coke. I was like, whoa. Yeah. I was like, that's allowed. I thought like Mick Jagger would kill you if you did that or something. Like,
it's kind of like, for a while I thought he was like he was one of the band members who didn't really even smoke weed or something. But then, like, as you read through and watch it, like, he was sort of like, you know, even in the 60s, sort of a little bit open about like having done like LSD, and I think also because them getting busted, that stuff came out. But, like, you know, so I think he did like smoke a lot of weed and drink and do, you know, those weird pills that you can't get anymore, Tuanols and Desbutols, or
those like quadrophenia movie drugs.
There was like one half's orange and one half's green, kind of.
Your hair's cut perfectly, and you have a suit on, and you're just doing drugs in some bombed out like World War II apartment. Yeah, it's so funny.
But you bought them from the pharmacy.
Yeah, like a teddy boy. He's a teddy boy. I just learning these terms, teddy boys. Did he not own the rights to Clockwork Orange, or am I Mandela affecting that for a while, and then he sold them?
I have no idea,
because I could have sworn he was supposed to do it. I forgot to look that up. I might be. Did Mick Jagger own a Clockwork Orange? I thought he bought the rights to the book originally. Yes, he owned the film rights to Anthony Burgess's novel originally. He bought them for $500. it was just like, that's insane. And I'm so glad he didn't make the movie, because what they did was they just put him as Alex, a guy playing. They had what's the guy's name that plays him? He's awesome.
Malcolm McDowell. No.
McDowell. Malcolm McDowell. They had basically him play Mick Jagger, and then and in the thing, just the voice and everything. But it would just been really bad if Mick Jagger.
Because Mick does wear those like one piece like long pajama suits on stage sometimes.
And they're dickheads. Like they go around breaking stuff. There's so many fires. They started so many fires. Like hotels.
Aristocratic.
You'll never believe it, but we burned down a castle once again. You're like, what? Like, it's like, how are you guys stop starting fires? Like, it's just nuts. Like they be burning shit down, like figuratively and literally. So, but they meet each other at like a train station when they're very young. They kind of knew each other as like schoolmate guys, like kind of just friend of a friend. Everybody knows that guy, where like maybe later you have a class together and it's like, we've never talked, but I've seen you a million times or whatever. And they both notice, they bond over like, oh, we both like ice cream and you have blues records. And I guess at that time, and it's tough to contextualize this, being 35 years old and just growing up where rock music was just on TV and stuff. And you could get it anywhere. It wasn't even really stigmatized when we were kids, unless something was like Marilyn Manson or something like that. Would be it would have to be that level. But back then it was like, no, these are like black people playing like the blues, and it's few and far between finding people that really like that stuff. So again, that's like the wedding, that's like the engagement ring right there that they give to each other, where it's like, this is going to happen. I really love the way that they formed the band. I think it's hilarious that Charlie Watts was like the unattainable guy that they couldn't afford, because he was in a jazz band that went on BBC a couple times, and like Charlie Watts was like, dude, I'm making like, I'm sure it was good money at the time, like for being a musician, but he was just still working as like
probably like 25 pounds a week or something. And he's like,
and he was still working. He was talking about sleeping like 3 hours a night and then playing like jazz clubs all night. And like I think he had a kid already, or was like already I can't remember which one of them had a kid.
I think his daughter Serafina was born after the Stones toured or something. But
maybe it was Bill Wyman that had the child.
Yeah, Bill Wyman's the oldest one. I think he was like 30 or something when the band
started. God, Bill Wyman, by the way. The guy who had the most sex. They always talk about that. Well, I had my sex, but I'm no Bill Wyman. And
Bill was also married too when they started the band. He might have had a child or something. But yeah, like, so he was like married for like 10 years or something to that Swedish chick Astrid before like they broke up, I think.
He
kept getting like back with his ex-wives. He'd like leave one wife, get with a different chick, get back with the ex-wife, but in the meantime probably like crushing like 2,000 groupies.
Yeah, and also, Charlie Watts, for a while they're like, we can't pay you, but like, you're so good, we can't, like, we don't make any money, like, and they're auditioning these like random fat like Augustus Gloop Willy Wonka people for the band, and like making them pay for their meals while they stand outside. They're really mean. Like,
Brian Jones's school friend,
Brian Jones, and we'll talk about Brian Jones. I'll probably right now, if you're a big Brian Jones guy, I'm going to be really mean about Brian Jones. So
I have a soft spot for Brian, but I'm probably going to agree with a lot of what you say about it.
I think he's a demon personally. Like, but I think like legitimately, once they purged him, demons went away.
Oh,
like,
he had to leave the band. I just like, his life is so tragic, and like when he was on musically, like, back to No Expectations, like his slide guitar is what makes that song for me.
It's the last thing he did, right? It's kind of the last thing he did.
Yeah, I think because he was he was barely showing up in the studio, and then that was one time where they're like, "What the fuck, this guy? Like, we thought he was just all like doped out, couldn't do anything, and then he just like whips out this like just out of nowhere this slide guitar, and then I think it was probably one of the last notable contributions he made.
Yeah,
other than like he's like, I'm gonna play 2 notes of a recorder for this song, or like whatever, and he gets like some weird instrument in his head he wants to like. And it actually works a lot of the time, the marimbas and the sitars and things on those like mid to late 60s albums, like
sure,
but I didn't want that to go on forever either, so
no, I have an interesting take about the what if of Brian Jones. It's very interesting. Like I've been thinking about this constantly. That Stanley Booth book really gets your wheels turning about like what Brian Jones, it kind of is a Brian Jones book in a sense, because
it's the two tragedies. It's Brian Jones and Altamont. They like running parallel narratives and then like culminating at the end.
That's kind of what it is too. Like you don't like, that's why that book works so well as like like you said, a literary nonfiction in a sense, where because you're kind of like, so much stuff happened at the end of the late 60s, the Stones at Altamont and Brian Jones, and you're just kind of like with all these other events that are happening. All these other events that are happening, and all these kind of people that are tangentially related to both. You have the Graham Parsons, you have that Phil Kaufman, the guy who was the was he like a tour manager or something? But he was like in the Manson family. The guy was like legitimately in the Manson family and had done time for like a lot. I think his name's Phil Kaufman. That name
sounds familiar.
That guy's legitimately like batshit insane. And still alive, by the way. This guy, Phil Kaufman, the Manson family, Kaufman Manson family. Yeah, I think that's his name. Yeah, Phil Kaufman. He's a producer. He just like, these guys are all like, I mean, everybody wants a piece of the Stones by the end of the late 60s, and all of these people, these Graham Parsons, some good influences, some bad influences. But like, if you are like a parapolitical guy, like this Phil Kaufman guy will definitely show up as a, whoa, you know, like that's interesting. This guy just gets out of jail and then starts like Manson familying like with all these people and like hobnobbing around in serious music circles and stuff. So it's very interesting. But just again, back to the genesis of the band. Like, I can't keep forgetting how like Brian Jones even joins the band. I think they're just like, he's good at guitar. Bill Wyman joins.
I think it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, essentially, like I think because Brian was playing with like Alexis Corner, and like he sort of known as like, because he was doing that Elmore James style thing. Yeah, I got a few Alexis Corner records. I think
that's right.
Robert Plant's on one of these tracks, and Charlie Watts was on it and stuff. Like he had like all of the like London, like he was the first guy in London doing like the blues rock kind of thing. Like so like everyone just who was like interested in that like was flocking to like, I think it was the Ealing Club, and like Alexis's band was playing, and he was getting like, you know, and that's how the Stones got started, because he got like a bigger gig, and so they were like took over his spot. But like I think Brian was just one of the guys that was like coming up on stage playing with him, and they just like, you know, were like, hey, like hit him up, and then, you know, Mick, Keith and Brian kind of formed the Stones.
Right. And the Stones for a while, because Brian is the best musician of the group at the time, far and away. Mick Jagger had, like, everybody talks about how shitty Mick Jagger is at the time. Keith Richards, I don't think Keith Richards ever developed into this virtuoso guitar player. I think he's a virtuoso thinker. I think he's a virtuoso artist. I think he always was. But even the guitar, there's all these clips of Chuck Berry yelling at Keith Richards, like, you suck. Like, you know, like just, he's a workman. He's a blue collar guitar player. Like he has to work around certain things, but that process in which he has to do that creates some of the sickest riffs ever, because he knows he has to go, like, I don't know, it's like a weird athlete that isn't the tallest guy but is like crafty or something. He's just kind of this
he has patience. Like he'll just keep playing bad notes until they start sounding good. Like, you know, if you play guitar, sometimes you just like want to like have a cool riff, and you'll sit there busting out bullshit.
Right.
But like he'll be the guy who'll just fight through that for like weeks on end. You know, they talk about like how long it takes them to make just like a single Stone song. It'll be like they'll spend 3 weeks on one song, but then you like listen to the end result and you're like, yeah, they needed to do that, like, for sure.
Right. Yeah. And Keith Richards comes up with riffs as though they were like stuck to him, like from outside. Like he was like, oh, this is on my shoulder right now. It just seems like it's like, oh, that's Can You Hear Me Knocking? You know, you're like, that's insane. How does that happen? And it's just, he's just that type of guy. I think John Lennon was a similar kind of musician in that way, where nobody's going to say John Lennon's guitar playing, John Lennon's piano playing. No, I mean, I think Lennon's a phenomenal singer, but you don't put him up there with like Sam Cooke, right? Like, you know, he's just these guys who these guys become these stars. They basically after Brian Jones's death and before that, his purging from the band, they kind of like, okay, let's learn what Brian was doing, and we'll kind of scrap together and do that, and then that creates, I think, the longevity of the Stones. But at the time, like, the Stones are the Brian Jones band. Charlie Watts finally agrees to go in and do that. And it's really funny that Charlie Watts having this background of a jazz drummer, because like his playing in the Stones would never have me think that. He's very much I love his drum sound. I love his kick. I think in terms of kick drums, I'm not sure anybody has a better sounding kick drum than Charlie Watts. Like, it's just that punch it's there on every album. And so, but I just would have never thought like this dude's like a crazy jazz drummer or something. I mean, I'm not a drummer, so maybe it's obvious, and somebody else could point it out, the kind of ties between the two genres. But for them, other than like Sympathy for the Devil, he's kind of just he just fits right in. That's what I like about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like a driving, just like, because he's always like leaning forward and just like real concentrated. Like it's very, you know, a garage rock drummer kind of thing. Like I don't know drum theory or anything, so I can't answer any of the questions about jazz drumming. Like, you know, sometimes when they're using brushes and they're doing like a little slow thing, you can be like, oh, that sounds pretty jazzy, but like,
right,
there's other than like that, like what's the song on Black and Blue Melody? Like, I can't think of too many jazzy beat kind of songs they have.
Yeah, maybe Heaven on Tattoo You has a little bit of that, like, you know, maybe playing with the ride a little bit, like in a Doorsy kind of fashion or something. I don't know. It's just, and to me, he's like, I love this band, so some people hate them. They're very polarizing, but like Chad Smith with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, it's just always correct. Every single time. He's not Neil Peart, he's not the star of the show, but every drum thing he plays, they're like, yep, that's what needed to be played right then and there. Yeah. And it's just so good. And he's not trying to overpower anybody in the group. That's why he stayed in the band till he died. In my opinion, was because he's just kind of like, I don't really care. I don't even really want to travel musically, kind of like he's a big time wife guy. I actually related to him a lot in all the stories and everything. Just kind of like, I just kind of want to have a cool house. I like to make money. I don't really want to travel. I guess we will if we have to. And he would always write these, like, he would write these like right-wing political letters to like people. I thought that was really funny. Like where he'd be like to the board of council people in England to be like, this is bullshit. He was like the George Harrison style of that group. I found that really awesome. Like they would always call him like a right-wing crank or a wank or something like that. They kind of alluded to him as the guy that did that, because at the time the Stones come up, Keith Richards' genesis is he comes from like a Marxist, like coal mining family, kind of like in a way. But he had this uncle who could just freaking who was this jazz guy or something.
Grandpa
Dupree.
Gus Dupree.
Gus Dupree. Yeah, his grandfather. So like that is clearly where Keith is getting a lot of this, but he got that like blue collar work ethic from his parents for sure. Yeah. But then also that like eccentric kind of off the wall like behavior, I think, comes directly from the grandfather. And there's that story of he wanted to play his grandfather's guitar really bad, and then they just he puts it up really high. He's like, you can climb up and get it, go do it. And it becomes like a Disney movie of like that Roger Rabbit scene where the baby's trying to climb on all the appliances and stuff. Like, and he you know, picks that up, and all these old things remind me of that movie Delicatessen. Like whenever I hear about something happening in like old England, is that movie Delicatessen, where these bombed out like Swiss cheese apartment complexes and stuff. Like just all they're Paul McCartney, you hear the Sabbath, all of these old things. I picture these really dingy places in like England, and just really, because it probably was.
Yeah, it was like post-war. They wouldn't have put it all back together yet.
I know. So it's just so strange that like this music comes from there, but also not strange at all. Like, where else would it come from? But they love the blues. They're dreaming of like fucking black girls in America. Like, they really want to go, like the whole time they're like, we really want to go to the South and have sex with black girls, whether they're hot or not. He's like, we want to do it. Like, if they're big fat ones, sure, like whatever. He's like, we want to go to juke joints. We want to do all of these things. And, you know, that's one thing when you're comparing them to the Beatles like never could do that, because they were just these superstars, like boom, like they hit the scene, and it was just like flamethrowers, and they couldn't do things like that. They couldn't go disappear to like Alabama or something. Like you couldn't. They were that big. And but the Stones were able to do those things. They were able to go to the South and like hang out with people and stuff, and like blend in but not, you know, and meet these like cool kind of session players and all of the people that they wanted to. So that in a way they had a more fruitful 60s than the Beatles, but they did not break through right away, right? Like it was just right away that, like, I have a hard time telling you what's on their 60s albums. I've listened to them a lot, these Decca, like early Decca and like London albums. I like them all, I think. Like, I think I like every single one of them. Like I'm looking right now and I'm like, oh, I thought that song was on this song. The album covers kind of look the same.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's crazy.
Well, there's like 3 albums that are basically the same cover.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's the first one. And like you can see like Brian and Mick are kind of positioned as the leaders.
Right.
This is the second US one. So in England it was just called number 2. But yeah, this is like the same cover as Out of Their Heads, just or the same picture basically.
I think it was the same guy that took like 3 pictures for them.
Yeah,
like,
they're basically, there might be slightly different pictures maybe. And then there's another one where it's like, I think number 2 or whatever has the same picture. And yeah, they like, you know, they just, those 60s ones, there's like the US versions. I got it all written here, like which is the first, but we don't really need to like delineate it all, I think.
No, and like it's crazy when you listen to that Stanley Booth book and like all that stuff's happening and you're like, holy shit, like Aftermath hasn't even come out yet. Like, and all this stuff's happening. Like it's crazy. I thought like almost the time was off, but it's not. It's just like so much stuff happens. And the whole time, like, I think the Beatles are succeeding more than them, but I think the Beatles are kind of taking they're taking like the mainstream bullet for the Rolling Stones, and the Rolling Stones are suffering like legal consequences and stuff at that time. Like, and they're like the bad, I think it's kind of good that they didn't blow up right away, because I think they would have had some even more insane stuff happen if they got like super popular in 64, like in the US or something. I think these guys were knuckleheads, and just constant stories about, you know, just fights. I mean, if you think the Beatles shows were crazy, I mean, they were. The fan stuff that happens where the girls like clinging onto the bumper and losing fingers. There's that one girl who falls off the second deck. Like, they have it happen. Women just falling out of the second deck of things and breaking their necks and stuff. And rushing, the fact that you couldn't even do a show back then. Like, they're probably not, they don't even know if they're good live for like 10 years.
They can't even hear themselves.
They don't know. Yeah. And the Beatles used to say the same thing. They were like, they play Shea Stadium and you'd hear it over like it would sound like the monitor would sound like an elementary school speaker, like, please report to the office. Because it was just like, they didn't have the setups for these stadium shows. Like, but they were just like, these kids, we can't fit all these people in a place. And that creates a lot of bad things in the 60s when you do not have the infrastructure for this really aggressive music that the kids love. It's not just Elvis kids in the theater, you know, or like Johnny Cash and like June Carter Cash with like the people in the dresses and the glasses, like clapping. This is like kids that are insane and want to like smash stuff and, you know, are born
girls pissing their pants in the audience.
The fan club stuff I really love in that Stanley Booth book, all the fan club letters that they read about like we're gonna smash our titties up together, and when next time you say, it's just nuts. Like, it's just like, wow. Like right now, if you think like we're like really debaucherous right now, I'm sure you can find some examples, but back then, man, it just was another world. It was nobody worried about being filmed. I guess maybe that was part of the reason, and what kind of happened there could stay there, and maybe would just be in a memoir later or something, perhaps. But I just want to go through some songs that I just love, you know, like the original. I mean, for the first 2 albums, they're just doing blues covers, right? I think that's what it is. Like the original is Bobby Troop, Willie Dixon songs, Nanker Fledge or Felge, excuse me, and Phil Spector is kind of lingering.
What is Nanker Felge? Because I thought that was like a name Mick and Keith came up with, but they didn't write any songs. So it is
a pseudonym. Yeah, it is a pseudonym. I'm just looking at the writers on the thing. And they had the other one. What was it called? The Toxic, or what was the
Glimmer Twins?
Yeah, the Glimmer Twins. That was their other one. They had a lot of these, like,
I think that's their like production company name. It's like it'll be like produced, that's how they made money. The Glimmer Twins. Yeah, that's how they got rich. Yeah, and I think Nanker Felge was like one of their like their holding companies in the UK, and then that's how like Andrew Loog Oldham ripped him off or whatever. Like he created like NPA, like Nanker Felge America, and they thought, oh, that's just getting paid to us, and it's like, no, it's like paid to him with like all these like conditions and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was what it is. So it came from Felge came from Edith Grove flatmate Jimmy Felge.
That's the disgusting guy, right?
And no, and then a Nanker was a revolting face that band members, Brian in particular, would pull. And I think Jimmy was gross, and then Nanker. So it was basically like, we're disgusting. I was like, the Rolling Stones were like really leaning into it. I don't think they ever hated the Beatles, But
No.
I think they understood that they're like, what the Beatles are doing is like the clean cut mop top thing. Eventually they would become kind of the scraggly hair hippie. He goes, right off the bat, we're just going to be like the Beatles that just pee on you. Right.
Yeah, they're the Black Lodge Beatles.
Yeah, it's very true. Like they're slightly, now girls will disagree here because I think there are a lot of women that do find Rolling Stones attractive, but I think they're conventionally less attractive than the Beatles at the time. At the time, like I think they're good looking in a kind of different way, and they're just so cool. Yeah. So they're also just really cool, and you want to impress them, like the Rolling Stones. Like you really want to impress them. And you really want to like be in their good favor, even though that's like kind of tough to do because they're kind of like, who's this wanker talking to me? Like that's like their attitude towards everything. But at the time, they're kind of like leaning into it. You would see these articles of people, these drawings of like, look at these freaking losers that are like covered in shit and flies. They're gonna go on Ed Sullivan. How can we allow that? You know, like, and you look at them, you're like, I've seen way grosser people than that, but okay.
Yeah, they're just like the slightest bit scruffy. Their hair is like maybe 1 inch too long, and the reporter's like, "When are you gonna get a haircut, Keith?" And he's like, "I got one last night." Like,
yeah, and it's just really funny. It's just like, wow, it's kind of like when you hear about like Oprah being like really fat, like back in the day, like Oprah was the fattest woman in the history of the world, and you see it right now, you're like, no, that's not even close to what we have now. Yeah, like it was just
below average.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I like their covers. I am not a capital B blues guy. I try my best.
Oh, neither. Yeah.
It kind of just sounds all the same to me. I really respect it though. I really respect.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't hate any of it. That's the thing. I don't hate any. Like no, there's like not a bad blues song. To me,
I hate this. Yeah. It's like the category of music fan, the blues purist. I kind of hate because like,
yeah,
he's not a purist though. You
he's
know
not
what I mean?
Purist,
like,
but he.
I mean, the people who like will be like, even like they're just like only listen to like a certain amount of blues between these periods, and like anything like if they even like slightly start getting electric and stuff. And I just like, first of all, that must be so boring to only listen to the blues, but it's also just this thing of like, I'm going to take a style of music that everyone agrees is great. Like you've never met anyone who hates the blues.
Yeah.
Like, most people don't like obsess about it, but everyone will be like, yeah, I respect it. It's good. But like they take a style of music that no one can ever like criticize them, and they just like safely wall themselves off in there. And then if you're like, I like Led Zeppelin, like, well, that's just like electrified bullshit, you know? Like, so I kind of hate that category of like music fan that is just like a purist, but I've delved into the blues a bit, Lightning Hopkins and a few others kind of thing like I like, but yeah, I don't have the appetite to listen to it all the time.
Yeah, and like it's just there's like it's kind of this like flat line, like everything's 7 out of 10 to me, where I'm like every blues song, like this blues song 7 out of 10 to me, and I don't even, that gets a lot of people mad, but I also don't even care enough to defend that position that much. I'm just like, no, that's just how it is to me. I love the offshoots of it a lot more though. Like, you know, like I love the blues. I mean, what didn't stem from it? That's good. You know, like it's you can hear it all the time. The Stones especially. I mean, they never stopped being a blues band ever.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Like even when they're in the 80s wearing like purple suits and stuff, there's still like blues rhythms like that they're doing. These guys loved this stuff. Like they just could not get enough of it. I think there was that movie Chuck Berry was in where Keith Richards just went like 14 times to the theater like consecutively as a kid, where he's like,
Jazz on a Summer Day.
Right. He's like, this is what I want to do. And that's why I love Keith Richards, because he is just, no matter where he was in his head, he was just all about the music. Like all the time. Like if good music wasn't being made, like he wasn't happy. It didn't matter if he was like on another planet and stuff. He didn't allow that to get in the way of productivity, which I just love that about Keith Richards. And that's why he's built different in my opinion, because he did he did the Syd Barrett thing. He did the Brian Jones thing. He's doing all the same shit that they were doing for the most part. And I know he like qualifies it in his book of like, well, I only took the proper amount. I had my chemistry set. Like he was like,
and then he always like immediately contradicts himself after
every time. Every time where he talks about
like, I never like shot it up. Anyway, we were fucking like mainlining.
Yeah, we were mainlining in my ass.
Well, like, he was doing muscle shots a lot. I didn't even know you could do that with heroin. Insane. I thought that caused like abscesses or something.
He also said he didn't care for casual sex. which is my favorite.
Yeah.
But he says that constantly, and he's like, anyways,
He's
I had
like-
sex with 15 women in a week. He goes, but I didn't
He's like,
love
I
it.
just like
It
to
was-
kiss and cuddle, you know,
Yeah.
like he doesn't.
Yeah, I was laughing so hard at that. Like, where he was like, yeah, I just every city, I just call my favorite girls. This was like, yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, yeah. That's just funny. I was just, he's hilarious, and he's self-aware with it too. He's not like trying to defend himself from anything. I think it's just that's truly just how his brain works.
Yeah,
And so it's just really funny. But they get their first big hit, which is Not Fade Away, which is as a Buddy Holly song. I actually did not know that for a long time.
Yeah.
That was a Buddy Holly song. So that was something on this. I was like, oh, I thought that was their first like written song by the, not first written song, but the first one that got a big hit out of it. But I think where they really become like, Not Fade Away is a fine song. Don't get me wrong. But Tell Me is where I think you get like what the Rolling Stones are, where you're like, oh, that's what that unlocked their career, in my opinion, artistically. Like where you hear that, because that sounds like a cover. That sounds like some like Righteous Brothers, something from the 50s. That I always thought that song was a cover, and that's an original song by them, which I think
I think it's
crazy.
Nanka Feldge accreditation, right?
It just says Jagger Richards, but I'm sure if you looked at the album, it would say Nanka Feldge.
It does say Jagger Richard. Okay, so it's on the first album. So they did write a song on the first album. Okay,
they did quite a few, which is funny because like the way they're catalog, they're like, no, they didn't write anything for like 2 albums, and who knows, right? Who knows? Names get put on things, like who knows what like actually happened. But I really like their cover of Carol, the Chuck Berry thing. They play that like in the 80s still, like on their tour. They like never stop playing that. I'm a King Bee, which actually is one of my favorite blues songs ever by James Moore.
It's so sick.
That's like an awesome
And the
song.
lyrics are so like, how do they even let them put that on a
I know.
record then, where it's like, let me come inside and stuff like it's talking about coming into a hive, but like you know?
I think after back then they were like, it's black people.
Yeah,
I think,
and that's one where Jones, like the Brian Jones slide guitar, like that's where he's doing the Elmore James thing, like that, like that's
these albums don't get made. These albums just don't get made without Brian Jones, because they just like, it's probably really hard. They were like really concerned that they couldn't record an album, like because they were like, we would play live, it would go pretty well. They would have like these shows where nobody would show up, like just classic like underground band kind of thing. But they were like, we really want to record an album, but we're not like sure we can. Like, I don't know if I can like play in that style. I kind of just know how to go on stage and like entertain people. And then Brian Jones, I think at the beginning, and the consistency of Charlie Watts, who's at the time, you know, another very seasoned musician, probably could get that done. And but yeah, the self-titled album, The Rolling Stones, is very good. I mean, you go back and listen to it, you're like, that's just an awesome debut. like I don't think they thought much of it. Like they don't really talk about it like in this way. There's a lot of albums that they don't think are that like amazing or worth talking about themselves that I find to be phenomenal. So I guess that's just art in that way. But they just kind of hit the ground running. They just keep recording and touring. This is like in the 60s when there's like 10 rock bands. So like you have this all to yourself. Like it's probably going to be chaotic and unorganized, but it's not a flooded market. You just, if you put out good music and girls like you and guys think you're tough, you're gonna be able to have a lot of opportunities. And even if they're not selling the way the Beatles are, even if they're not seeing they're not making a lot of money at the time, you can tell they know like this is worth pursuing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because like rock and roll, like, you know, like almost kind of died before the Stones and that. Like it was like the late 50s. There was all that rockabilly kind of stuff, Elvis and what have you. But then there was kind of like a lull period where there wasn't really any new artists. It was more like those vocal kind of harmony groups, like Everly Brothers, and like maybe you get like Cliff Richard, but Cliff Richard's pretty wussy, you know, like so like they were like, you know, and they incorporated the blues into it. You know, the other ones were more like country and stuff. So like that's like, you know, and you know, like the blues was like an ancient form by that stage and stuff. So they're like reincorporating this old music and then, you know, putting electric guitars to it in like a pop kind of stage show. Yeah. You know, so like reinventing rock. So they like saved rock and roll, you know, like it probably could have died on the vine without them and the Beatles and bands like that.
And just their animation of what they did on stage is just so different. Because even the Beatles, they're just doing that on stage. That's like, so whoa, look at them, and then but like for a while it's like guys in suits standing by the microphone singing, Elvis was kind of like, whoa, dude, like that was kind of too crazy. And like Mick Jagger is like insane, and he's just running around the stage with a tambourine, and his penis is like you can see his dick like through it's like everyone's just like, dude, what? At the time, like we thought Elvis was too much. Like this is
his pants were baggy though,
Yeah, exactly. Like these guys were like, and it was like very like, I want you to see my dick, like this is I want you to see my penis. Like that's a big part of the act. And so at the time, like, and even then, like you can tell when they do the TV appearances, they have to wear like a sweater or something. Like you see the I think it's the first Ed Sullivan one, if I'm not mistaken. Mick Jagger wears this like really itchy turtleneck sweater and stuff, and he looks like he does not want to wear that. He's like, I want to dress like a court jester, thank you, with my penis out. And that's how I prefer to be. Speaking of which, you brought up, I can't ever remember if it's the Righteous Brothers, the Everly Brothers, but there's that really good part in the memoir where Keith Richards is floored by that one guy just killing his mom. Is it the Righteous or the Everly Brothers, where the drummer, like,
I think it's the Everly, but don't quote me on that.
I know, I get those bands confused. They're both very good bands, and I don't have enough knowledge of either of them to be like, oh, that's that. But he's like, years later, I found out he sliced up his mom. And he's like, what kind of man? I thought the guy was a good chap. Like, it's so funny. I mean, it's obviously a horrible story, but this guy was just one of those like mentally ill guys that like lived like Norman Bates, like ass guy and then ends up like slicing up his mom and like killing her and stuff. And Keith Richards is like, it's rock and roll, mate. Like, I'm just shocked. Yeah, it's
just the way it goes sometimes.
Never a dull moment, I guess. And every time Keith Richards talks about it, it's subconsciously you can tell it. There's like a subtext to what he's saying, going like, he couldn't hang like me, like it's really funny.
Couldn't keep it together, mate.
Yeah, I know, it's so funny. I will be referencing that book a lot because I absolutely loved it.
I read it twice.
I loved every minute. I will revisit it again just for fun. Like it's just so funny.
Yeah, I did the audiobook twice, but I found this at a thrift store. But check this out, like it was inside it. It was like someone's like funeral thing, but look, she's horsing.
Wow.
Horses on the back. And then someone's written privileged on it. Like, so some nephew went to her funeral and was like,
that is very 60s. And then that's very 60s Stones, to be honest.
And it was like literally tucked in about here in the book. Like they made it like 30 pages in. So I'm like, what a no.
Was there just some guy who didn't want to be at some like rich family member's wedding that was reading the Keith Richards memoir in the background? That's really funny.
Well, so I think of the funeral thing. So he's like,
that's what I mean. He's in the back of some dead relative's funeral and he's just like reading it. He's next to like the ambrosia salad. Yeah, the ambrosia salad. He's just sitting next to that. That's hilarious.
Indoors.
Yeah. He's just got a little Keith Richards look and stuff. That'd be so funny. Rolling Stones 2 comes out. Time Is on My Side is so good. That's another one that I thought they originally wrote that they did not. So I'm like always wrong on their early stuff, like going into this. It's Norman Mead. Oh no, that's a pseudonym. That's another pseudonym. How many pseudonyms do they have?
I have no idea. Yeah, there's a few Nanker Felgers and a few Jagger Richards. Oh, interesting. This is Jagger Richards with an S. Usually they're just Richard in the old ones. And this is like a 60s pressing, I think. It's like a mono.
Oh, okay.
US.
No, so it was Norman Mead is a different guy. Jerry Ragavoy. Okay, so it's a pseudonym for him. I got it. Okay, so I'm like, wait, I was like, that one I didn't know, but that's such a good song. I love the off tambourine in it. The tamborine's off in it, and I think it adds so much character to it. There is a lot of something to say about something that's off, but in the best way possible. And that's what I love about that song. And Jagger is incredible on it. This album is good though. The Susie Q cover is great. And Under the Boardwalk.
Hot, that's a good one.
Yeah, Under the Boardwalk, the very sexual I Can't Be Satisfied, Muddy Waters song. These are great, man. These are all really good. I mean, none of these are in my top 5 Stones albums ever, but they're really good.
No.
Like they're really good.
They're really solid start because a lot of these 60 bands, like one of my favorite bands, the Kinks, Like
that's right,
their first record is not that good. Like it has good songs on it. Like it has their hits, like You Really Got Me, and stuff like that. But like there's a lot of filler, and like, you know, they're doing the same kind of thing, bluesy covers, harmonica and stuff. Like they all get better. You listen to them more and more times. Like, you know, like usually what's drawn you into those kind of bands though is some like late 60s, early 70s kind of thing, and then you go back to the beginning. But like, yeah, like I think the Beatles started out pretty good too. I like their 60s albums. Like they're all pretty solid. So
they don't
like,
really have a bad album, but there's just not that many of them. They weren't
like 8, right?
Yeah, the Beatles are different because like they have gaps in between albums the way the Rolling Stones don't. Like they have these they went through an entire like 40-year period in 10 years, the Beatles. Like that's the thing about them. Whereas the Stones, like they were always playing the long game, you can tell. Even if they didn't think that. They were always like, we're gonna do this forever until we die. Or really it's Jagger and Richards, however long they want to do it for. It's so weird how they're like, not weird, it's just it's like one of them should have died, and if the rock rules are correct, and they didn't. And it's very, I'm so glad they're not dead, but it's just it's just real. Like you would like Keith Richards was looked at as, there was a YouTube short I saw, and their interviews are so funny. That's why like I feel like Mick Jagger will only do these really curated like Today Show interviews now, where they're very curated, very softball questions, and edited down and stuff, because the old like pressers that they used to do, they hate them. Everybody's so mad during the whole thing. They're snarky, very funny. But there's one where they're like, Keith, it's Keith and Mick that are doing an interview now. Keith, you are voted the #1 guy most likely to die in the next 10 years. What do you think about that? And then like Keith Richards is like making a joke. He's like, well, I'll try to beat that. I'll try my best. And Mick Jagger, that's really mean, isn't it? That's really rude of you to say. And he's like really offended. And he has like eyeliner on. It's really funny. And he's like, his feelings are hurt. He's like, I just don't think that's a good idea. And then they pivot like, well, Lou Reed's #2. And Keith's like, oh, I'll beat him for sure. Like he's like, oh, which he did. Neither of them died very soon after that. It was like the early 70s. Lou Reed died in like 2014 or something. Like, yeah, he was
maybe even later than that. Oh, yeah, you might be right. Yeah,
we did an episode relatively.
Yeah,
that's a great. Anybody who hasn't done his memoirs, phenomenal.
Oh, I haven't done the memoirs, but I'm a big Velvet.
You will love it. It's so good. When he tells John Mellencamp to not have the Stones on, or to not have Guns N' Roses on Farm Aid because they have a song that has racism in it. It's one of the funniest things in the history of the world. And like John, because they have, I forget, the Guns N' Roses have that song with like all the racial slurs in it.
I know the song. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, it's like
like the spaghetti incident or something, isn't it?
Yeah, and like Lou Reed's like, I'm not gonna play, and he's just like, Mellencamp's like, dude, like you're like the total shock jock guy. Like, what do you like? What are you talking about? Like, because Lou Reed went like really square libtard in the 80s, and it's really funny. He's like a total it made me laugh really hard. So anyways, yeah, so you can tell the Stones are playing the long game here. And again, another good album there. I'm sorry if you love these albums, listener. Like, it's just, there's not a lot to say about the album themselves. It's more so what's happening around them. They're good. It's good songs though. And they're doing these shows. They haven't quite become the live band because they're not allowed to, because the shows just go to hell every single time, whether it's bad sound, whether it's fans just going insane. They kind of want the fans to go insane. Like, I like that they admit that they're like, yeah, actually we want this shit to go crazy, and because that's going to create buzz. It feeds into our image as the bad boys. We have the kids going insane. They really welcomed any sort of transgressive element that was happening. That got them in some trouble, but I think it also made them great. Especially in the late 60s, they definitely got into some stuff. So, but for right now, I like that during this era, they're talking about doing these shows in like Texas with George Jones, where nobody shows up. Can you imagine if you had tickets to George Jones and the Stones?
Yeah.
Like, and you're just there and you're like, where's everybody? And they say it's because it was really hot, but I guarantee you nobody would miss that show like 5 years later. Yeah. Like, they'd be like, George Jones.
You think even then, like, people be seeing George Jones, like,
right, in Texas.
I was reading George Jones's memoir. I haven't finished it, but there's a really funny.
Are they good? I
it's
George
great.
Jones. I love George
same.
Jones.
We should do it one day.
Yes, I love it.
But there's one funny story where he was like saying, because he was so drunk all the time and he'd often just not show up to his own shows, that what all these clubs in like the South were doing was they would put George Jones on the bill, even if he'd never agreed to do the show, and then we'd be like,
yeah, dude.
Oh, he didn't show. And even if they have to refund the ticket money, they still sold like a ton of drinks.
Yeah, because even as a fan, you're like, he didn't show up. I thought this would be the one.
Yeah.
You know,
it was a 50-50 shot, you know.
George Jones never agreed. His manager's never even heard of the promoter and stuff. That's really funny.
Yeah, probably like 18 clubs have him on the same night, and then they're all just like...
He is the man. Also, just phenomenal. By the way, real fast, I've been sitting on this take for a while. I absolutely hate Chris Stapleton. He's like a modern country rock guy. And he's like technically good at everything, and it just sucks. And that's kind of like to me how I feel about Bruno Mars, like where it's just like there's nothing offensive about this, but I just hate the end result of it. But he does the cover of Tennessee Whiskey, and it's huge. It's like a huge like domestic violence trailer park relationship thing, like where it's like their makeup song, like a lot, like people love it, and I cannot stand Chris Stapleton's cover of it. George Jones version, 10 out of 10. So that's all I wanted to say. A lot of people love Chris Stapleton. I do not.
Yeah, I can't do any modern country. It's just so like...
you know, there's some stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And here's the
I could listen to like a modern Dolly Parton album or something like that. But like,
I like this new Ella Langley girl. I actually do. I think she's pretty good. Okay. And then there's Morgan. I like Morgan Wallen. But the thing is, like Morgan Wallen, like it's like you're like, man, this guy's like good. I even though there's no black people involved in this, I somehow come out of it racist because there's 808 drums in it, and I'm like, what the fuck? When you hear like 808 drums in the country, she's like, stop it. What the fuck? Like there should be a drummer playing here. Like, so like when Morgan Wallen will have this beautiful like arrangement and it's like total like divorced dad, like fuck that bitch while you're like drinking a Monster in a truck, like just like driving super fast. Like it's got like that feel to it. And then there's 808 drums and you're like, and like hi-hats, like 808 hi-hats, like with like that kind of like programmed in like a rap style. And you're like, but I will say, I where I live now, people listen to a lot of country, and there's sometimes my ear, I'm like, oh, that's not half bad, you know. So compared to, I don't know who's making good new music at all, so country might even be in the lead.
Yeah,
so right. that's kind of my thing. Like I'm like
basically Kanye and Lana Del Rey. I know you're not the biggest Kanye fan, but like otherwise, I don't really know.
And then they're old guard if we're being real.
Yeah,
like like Kanye's first song came out, I was in 7th grade.
I'm like
Lana Del Rey, I was like 17 when her first album probably came out, or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, exactly. You're right. So you get a lot of albums that like aren't albums with these 60s bands because for one, they're in like
they all feel like compilations kind of.
They're in contracts. That's what they do. If you're in a 5-album contract with a label that you necessarily might not want to be in, or whatever, you put out the label. If you're not recording, they're just going to put out a compilation album and just put it out because they need something out. That happens all the time in the 60s with these people. Like you'll just get, and then you also get, it's very confusing because you get US and UK releases, which is like why?
I think because like the UK, they'll probably like more EPs coming out and singles and stuff like that, and then like for the US release they would sort of compile those and put them all onto one like LP. But I don't know, because I'm always wondering too, because I'm like what market research are they doing to be like, this should be the track order and this is what we should call the album in the US, like like the first album, the Rolling Stones in the US is called like brackets like England's US hit makers, and then like there's slightly different track listing. It's like it's not until the Satanic Majesties that the albums actually line up with US and UK and become the exact same track listing.
What a great time to start. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can't mess with the order of that album. You know what I mean?
Can't wait to talk about that album. I can't wait to talk about that album. I'm looking forward to it. I have some interesting takes about that album.
Yeah. I suspect you probably don't like it as much as I do, but
you might be onto something, you might not be. Out of Our Heads is phenomenal. I love this album. It's really funny, the song I'm Free. Everybody just like talks about that like that's it's a Jagger Richards joint, but it's like definitely a Jagger song. You know, like in a sense where like you're gonna attach that to him and his image, the way it comes out, regardless of who put the words on the page and was came up with that. And they're always trying to cut it out of the live shows and that Stanley Booth thing. They're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
They're like, this ruins the show every time. And it's I will say it's not of their hits. It's not one of my favorites. It's very
No.
it's kind of just 60s, like just kind of 60s slop. If there is like 60s flower slop that is a genre. It's far from my favorite, but the rest of the album's really good.
It's not on this version actually. This is, I think, a US version, and
then the US version has Play With Fire.
Yeah,
which is crazy. That you feel like that would be on the British version. That's a very British song. Like you would like, to me, I don't even know how much that played in America, that song, because they said it became somewhat of a hit to them, and I think to me that's their first like masterpiece song, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like Play With Fire, I was like, it's so good. Jagger's calm singing on that is just really good. Just in the verses, and then he doesn't go like Southern Baptist black preacher like he might be tempted to when he talks about Play With Fire. He kind of just elevates it a little bit, and I just love the like Brian Jones ass like harpsichord, like George Martin like medieval times sounds in the background. Really, really good. That is, to me, is like their first masterpiece song, and then Satisfaction, of course, which still goes really hard to me. Like I should be tired of that song, and I'm not. Every time I hear it, it got new life for me when I was watching Apocalypse Now recently. Where Lawrence Fishburne is listening to it. It's very like of the time, like, you know, this generation, like they're sending us to war and like all of that. And Lawrence Fishburne, when he's like 16 years old, gets nuked on a boat, just absolutely shredded when he's listening to I think there's a scene after.
Oh yeah, is that he's playing it really loud out of that little like
the little speaker, and everybody's really excited on the boat, and
right.
you know, like you're like, this is going to be horrible what ends up happening, but it's really fun to watch the boys horse a little bit on the boat in the trial. Like I really love that scene, and like I guarantee you that happened. Like that exact thing happened in the Vietnam War. Like it's like people were listening to Satisfaction and then shit went bad. You know, like it's awesome. Like I just love it. Still a really good song. Spider and the Fly is another like kind of cut that I love on the US edition there. But yeah, this album is just like completely different. Whether you get it, the UK edition has like the Sam Cooke cover on it and stuff, and it's just completely it's just completely different. And I'm very thankful that we don't have US and UK editions anymore.
Yeah, well, because I'm in Australia, so I'm curious, like, what happened in the 60s here? Did we get, like, UK ones, probably? But then there would have been imports. Same within the UK, they would have been importing the US ones, because there would have been, like, the like, Malcolm McLaren kind of dude working at a store, calling up people in New York and trading. Like, that's how they were getting the blues records and stuff. Anyway, there was some guy in a record store importing them. But another song I really like on this one, That's How Strong My Love Is. Like that
Roosevelt
song goes so hard.
Roosevelt Jameson is a Memphis blues, right?
I'm not super familiar with him, but yeah, for some reason I thought it was a Smokey Robinson song. Like
he might have done a cover. I mean, these songs get thrown like it's 10 different artists probably have a cover of that song. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So it's probably true. No, I love that song. Cry to Me. I like everything on these albums, like for the most part. It's just The Last Time. Like these are just really, really good. So I mean, again, the cover is different. Like it's funny, the US edition, they kind of did the like Beatles cover. The kind of Beatles cover with all their haircuts and their quirky little faces on it.
And they're in like some alley sort of thing.
Yeah, and then the UK edition's very Clockwork Orange. Like even before that movie existed, but it's very like, you know, pockets are full of dang, like just kind of like looking on the front of it where, you know, another thing, I hate Brian Jones's haircut, dude. Like that haircut sucked back then. You can't tell me that was a cool haircut back then. Like
I'm not gonna defend the haircut.
He looks like fucking Haley Joel Osment in that.
Sometimes he looks cool when they sort of grows it a bit longer, but when it's just a straight like bowl cut, it's a bit Yeah.
He would benefit from like a cool Brian Wilson 70s beard. Is if he didn't die, he would have had eventually a cool 70s beard. Like, and that would have looked way with glasses. Like it would have looked way sicker, like Jerry Garcia kind of style. Like he would have looked way. I think he would have got really fat in the 70s if he didn't die. And
he would have been grotesque.
Yeah, just a really fat,
but Allen Ginsberg cool. Beard.
Yes,
and
yes, but it would look really cool. Like you'd be like, that's a really cool gross guy, is what it would look like.
I love that about like all those bands. Like every time like you get to like 1969 or 70, the photos just like they have beards all of a sudden. Like
they're
the Kinks
fat,
are the same
because they're getting fat, and like they're all like, oh, everyone had beards at the time. It's like, well, you're also getting fat. You're also not 21 anymore. Like, so you're like, you realize you can't fucking drink like 90 beers in a day and stuff, like, and take all these
4 bottles of champagne.
Yeah, and you have money to like eat just like slop all the time and stuff. So it's really funny when you see that. And then like eventually they, you know, like you have like the 80s like Don Henley like workout guy album, like where they're like get back into it, like they're like I'm
they put on like a pastel suit.
And they need. I always thought that was like a career art for John Lennon, was like he would have had like a David Bowie Let's Dance like 80s album, like just straight pop, where he'd have like a white suit and like a curly mullet. It would look like I just picture that happening in my mind. Like I don't know if it would have been a good album or a bad album. You could make a case that it would be one or the other, but I was like, Lennon for sure would have had like a corporate ass 80s album that I would really like, I bet.
Well, he even like cut his hair short towards the end of the 70s.
He did. He looked awesome with that. Right before he died, he had the coolest haircut. I follow Tony Levin on Instagram. Any like people who know Tony Levin, he's King Crimson, Peter Gabriel, bass player, bald guy. He has a great Instagram because it's there's no politics. There's no derangement syndromes of any kind from any side. It's just like this day in 1981, we did the studio with Peter Gabriel. You know, it's just like, that's all I want to see from you. Like, I don't want to hear your takes on the world anymore. Like, I just please. So more artists need to be like Tony Levin's Instagram.
From the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that red kidney paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, kids on the shit.
December's Children, that's the kind of same thing, right? Isn't that the same? Yes, that's Out of Our Heads.
December's Children's it's the 5th US album. It wasn't released in the UK, but it's the songs from it, I'm sure, are on UK releases.
Yeah, you have Get Off of My Cloud on here, which is just like a single release. That's an awesome song still to this day. Love that song.
Love that live too. It's like Mick speeds it up.
Yeah, they do so many different versions of it live that it's like, it's just one of those ones that, you know, they still just love it. They just love doing it. They just re-released like Route 66 again, which I love. Like I love when they do that. They're like, hey, remember, in case you just became a Rolling Stones fan, you know, we have Route 66. These people don't have streaming back then, so they can't like go back to your old albums. They're like, remember this? And they could just put
they
that
also
on.
Like they can't make a playlist on Spotify. So if you've got like a bunch of different records that are just different orders, you're like, this is the playlist that I want to listen to today. They kind of like
we do the blues in case you forget, you know, or we do like rock and roll, like, you know, old school rock and roll. So it's really it's good. Again, not much we can say that there, but it's like
up to Aftermath, they're all kind of the same record, sort of.
Yeah, I between the buttons is pretty fucking sick in my opinion.
Oh, that's after Aftermath, but I think that's the best one from the 60s is Between the Buttons.
Then I must have. Oh, you're right. Okay, yes, Aftermath. I thought they were switched around. Aftermath has a really cool cover. I really love the purple, like we're purple now. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the hazy like blurry glasses alternative cover too. They're both fantastic. This is like their most misogynistic album ever. I'm telling you, like it's I was listening to it, Mother's Little Helper, just like mom has to drink to like raise her kids and stuff, and like and
takes
Valiums, Stupid Girl, which is like is really mean. You're like, damn, God, what a masterful song. Under My Thumb is still and also anybody, they really elevate that song. Like I love the the kind of like 60s like smoke filled like underground room style of Under My Thumb, like Austin Powers ass, like, you know,
like noisy, bassy kind of background.
I love that. But then in like 1981 on the Tattoo You tour in Arizona, they come out to that, and it's I don't know what month it is in Arizona, and you're Australian, so the same, like it's just desert heat. I'm like, they had a outdoor stadium in Arizona just packed, and it looks hot, and they just come out, and Mick Jagger's wearing a crop top New York Jets football jersey and like spandex, and he's like 45 probably at this point, or like 40. So, like he's not even like a young man anymore to
I reckon he would have been 40 or
around there.
Keith was born 43.
He's the youngest one. He's the youngest one.
Keith's the youngest.
Yeah,
Nick might be like a year or two older than him. So
he's probably like 30.
He'd be very close to 40.
And he still, hey, you know what? It works. It looks fantastic.
He's my age, probably. I'm 38. So
I'm 35, and I'm just like, you know what? You wear that, I guess. And he comes out and they play Under My Thumb. There's like beach balls flying everywhere. It's this beautiful footage where they come. It shows them coming out. That I need to find that DVD, the 81 Tattoo You live one. Under their version of Under My Thumb there is so good. And Ronnie Wood, who we'll talk about later, he really adds like a really cool like kind of melodies to it that like just don't exist on the regular song, which is what their best live stuff does, is where like there's just a new guitar track. You're like, whoa, that's cool, you know, like when that's the best. Painted Black, like I can never figure out where does Painted Black appear. This is just a single.
I got it on I thought it was on this one. Wait,
I think it's on some version. It's on the US edition. It's on the US edition and not on the UK edition.
Yeah, that's
just crazy.
Yes, I don't even know if I have Painted Black on any of these, to be honest. Now that I think about it. I used to have different other compilations. Like there was one, this Australian one just called Stones and Rolled Gold and Flowers and Metamorphosis and all those ones. So it would have been on one of those, but they're compilations.
Yep. But yeah, because the US edition goes Painted Black, Stupid Girl, Lady Jane, Under My Thumb, Don't You Bother Me, Think, Flight 505, High and Dry, It's Not Easy, I Am Waiting, Going Home. US wins again. Sorry, Britain.
Yeah. I think the US versions are better too. This is a UK one, sits on Decca. This is like an 80s Econo cheapo reprint, so it sounds terrible.
Also, 80s UK labels probably don't know what rock music quite is yet. I think US is like, we've had some rock here so far, like, you know, with like the like, we kind of know what people want to hear. Because Painted Black, I get why Painted Black maybe is like, at the time, it's very experimental. They were doing sitar, like this is 1966. Sitars aren't really part of rock yet at this point. Like the Beatles were doing it on Sgt. Pepper. They did it on Revolver, so that was 65. So okay, so maybe it was because they do it on the Tomorrow Never Knows. On that. So, but they're like, that's a tough thing to be doing, like, because if that doesn't work, they're like, dude, stop. Like, but it's so sick. The sitar on Painted Black is like unreal, and then the drums with that, like. It's very Indian. I know they say Middle Eastern, but to me, it's very Indian. Like, I just go back to my time of like
American Indian. Do you mean? Or
no? I was thinking that you could hear some really fast paced like drums, like dun dun dun, 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 like in India, because I remember kind of getting into some Indian music because of like Madlib, Beat Conductor in India kind of stuff, and I just remember like thinking like, wow, they have some like really like fast stuff in India. Like it's not all just like meow 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 like Ravi Shankar like shit. Like, so Brian Jones was like that type of guy. I mean, Brian Jones until his dying day was like playing music to please Pan, the guy.
The Pipes of Pan at Jajuka
and Boogala Judu or whatever the fuck that thing was called. Like, I was like, this is how you know somebody's about to die, is when that's going to happen. You're like, he's like having legal troubles, and they're like, well, Brian's really changed. They're trying to say it in his courtroom thing. They're like, Brian's really changed. Like, he is not addicted to drugs anymore. And they're like, and then like it's juxtaposed with him like in his apartment flat, like worshiping Pan and like Boogala Judu, whatever, like in Morocco and stuff. And you're like, okay, that's not really helping your court case here. But
I take it you don't like that album that he recorded.
I don't.
Or have you not listened to it?
I did.
Yeah, I can't imagine you.
I gotta tell you, I don't really. There's not really a lot of Stones offshoot albums that I like. That's a sneak peek to the 80s.
The Ronnie Woods albums are okay.
Oh, I haven't heard those. I haven't heard those. I
like them. It's just very 70s stuff.
Does he sing? Oh, I like the.
Yeah.
not the Faces. You're not talking about Faces stuff.
No. Like he was in the Faces as well, and he was also in this band called the Birds.
Yes.
BIRDS. They're pretty good, like for a 60s garage rock, like a British garage rock band.
Yeah.
They're actually pretty sick. But yeah, his solo albums, no, he just has like a bunch, like I think he's got like 8 or something of them. I haven't listened to all of them, but you'd like it. It's just very 70s kind of like
probably
and he
would.
sings and has like a billion different guests like playing on the albums, like even I think Bob Dylan.
I adore Ronnie Wood. I just adore him. I think he's so cool. And just funny, and he's just like a Rolling Stone. It's so funny. I remember as a kid thinking Ronnie Wood was always in the band when I was a kid. I was like, oh, he's always the guy. I didn't know about Brian Jones. I didn't know about Mick Taylor. I was like, oh, because Ronnie Wood just looks like a stone. He looks more like a stone than half the guys in the damn band do. Like it's just so strange because he looks like Rod Stewart in the Rolling Stones. If Rod Stewart was in the Rolling Stones, that's what Ronnie Wood looks like. And it's so funny. But the Brian Jones one, he didn't spark joy for me on his solo.
It's hard to listen to. I can imagine there's certain times where I get in moods to listen to like annoying avant-garde stuff, but I'm definitely not in that mood at the moment. So like when I put it on, it was the first time I listened to it in like 15 years, and I was just like, I didn't like it even back then, really. No. I would just listen to it as a curiosity, like when I learning about Brian Jones, and like you're like, oh, like let's check this out, and then I never.
It's
really
like when people are like Marianne Faithfull's awesome. You're like, okay. Like I guess
English album's okay.
I mean, I like Sister Morphine, played by the Rolling Stones. I like that. That's Marianne Faithfull. Like I like that. I like that she was involved in that, and her voice was not heard. But I just, there's a lot of like side projects of the Rolling Stones. They have a blood pact to make music under the name the Rolling Stones. That's what I love about them. Is like that's the only time it's going to work. We'll get into the 80s with Jagger and Richards both trying to break off, and it's like this Lost Highway hell loop where it's like you just end up back in the band, and you're like, well, fuck it. The videotape appears at your door. The videotape appears at your door at the door, and you're like, well, I'm in the fucking Stones again. Oh well.
I believe we've met before.
Yeah, exactly. They're both. Each guy is Robert Blake for the other guy filming him. Mick Jagger is Robert Blake in Keith Richards' world. Keith Richards is Robert Blake with the camcorder in the other one. It's so funny that I found that just so charming, but also kind of sad for them a little. Between the Buttons, I love it. I really love their blurry album cover for that. Super cool. Ruby Tuesday, Let's Spend the Night Together. That it's weird. The album cover for that looks like it's going to be really experimental, and it's actually like their most cut and dry like pop album, in my opinion. Which I love. I just love it, and it's in Wes Anderson always uses the Stones really well. And he's got She Smiled Sweetly in the Royal Tenenbaums, and I've always loved that. And I also love that he ends the film with that Van Morrison song. So I thought that was great.
He uses the Kinks a lot too. I noticed. Like I'm not like I couldn't tell you the plot of any of his movies. I forget them mostly, but like I know there's always like 5 Kinks songs in every movie. I'm a fan. I know a lot of people have issues with him, but I pretty much like most of the things he does. I never don't enjoy his movies. Maybe that Life Aquatic one, I didn't really love that, but the others
that's his worst movie by far. I would agree with you there. But yeah, so this is Yesterday's Papers, Backstreet Girl,
Connection.
Connections are great. They still would play that live in the 80s on the Some Girls, or no. What? No, they played Connection on the Shine a Light Rolling the Martin
Scorsese one,
which is in like 2011, and they're playing Connection, which I was like, that is crazy, because that's a Keith Richards song. I mean, that's a Keith Richards sings that song, and
what does he
sings it on the Shine a Light thing.
Okay.
I
think it's Jagger singing. I don't think Keith sings any songs until like the 70s.
I know.
Albums.
And I'm interested to hear your take on that when we get there about Keith.
All right.
The KQ. I'm interested in that, because I still don't know if I have an answer on it. It's actually I will say there is a top 10 Rolling Stone song of all time, in my opinion, that is sung by Keith Richards. I will say that much.
I think I can guess it. It's one of exactly 2 songs. It's Before They Make Me Run.
No.
Or it's Happy.
No. Little TNA.
Oh, okay.
Little TNA is a masterpiece, and that's on Tattoo You. we're not even close to there yet, but that's just
no.
I love that song because it just is Keith Richards, and it's just really fun. I think it's great. I think it needed to be sung by Keith Richards. There are some Rolling Stones songs where you're like, God, I wish Mick Jagger sung that. Like,
yeah,
like there's just time. Like, I like Keith Richards, and I think in the 80s they figured out, in the late 70s and early 80s, I think there's just a little bit more music technology and like recording technology and technique to kind of get it to record better, and just kind of, because like there's sometimes where I'm like, dude, are you even in the room like singing? Like, I don't think he has a bad voice. I think he doesn't have a strong voice, and he strains really hard. And that's why that's the problem with it, is like he strains really hard and he kind of like I don't think he knows how to sing. Like, whereas, and he talks about that in his book, where he's like, I actually had a big respect for Mick, even though we hated each other at the time doing solo stuff. He's like, where I had to sing every night on tour. And he was like, fuck, like you have to like take care of yourself, kind of like you have to like if you want to do this for real, like you have to actually like learn things. And he's like I used to call Mick like a huge fag for taking like vocal lessons and stuff, and he's like, damn, I think I might need to now. like he's like, I kind of thought that was charming in there. But yeah, Ruby Tuesday, I love that song. I got really pissed off. Do you ever watch those Trackstar videos on YouTube where it's the guy, he's in like New York, and he has like a celebrity and he plays music for them and they have to guess who the artist is?
I've never seen that.
It's okay. The guy's kind of like super dirtbag left, like kind of just like, epic.
Is it like kind of like doing like a Nardwuar thing, or
no? Because he's not weird. He's not weird. He's just like a millennial guy who likes music and stuff. And he's like, he's a better version of the guy who does the stupid subway interviews in New York. Like, he's like a better version of that, I will say. But this guy goes, he had Maya Hawke on, who her dad is Ethan Hawke. And Ethan Hawke is like a Spurg music guy. Like, he knows everything about music. He's so good. He did an episode with Ethan Hawke, and it's like 20 minutes longer than all the other episodes, because Ethan Hawke is just like rattling shit off about stuff, constantly guessing stuff within a note of it being played, and really charming. But Maya Hawke couldn't get Ruby Tuesday, man. I'm just like, dude, that is like such an easy song. And he played the chorus as the part she needed to guess. It wasn't like the intro where you're like, what's the and then you do that. It was like he played the thing and she guessed the Smiths. So this song does not sound like a Smith song at all. And it's just, it made me mad a little bit. I don't have anything against her, but that made me really mad. I saw it. I kind of have a guilty kind of obsession with watching people guess songs on YouTube. So sue me. But yeah, Let's Spend the Night Together. It's a great song. Too racy for the Ed Sullivan Show, because it involves spending the night with a woman.
It's funny that too, because they already had that song. It's like, I Just Want to Make Love to You. And that seemed like a hit they had like a few years earlier. And like they would play, it seemed like they aired that on like British TV. But then like the Ed Sullivan thing's weird. Like, he's always just like, well, I got to have these like young bands, The Doors and all that on, because they get the ratings, but their lyrics are way too crazy. And so we have to, it's like almost like him just having to like, I gotta like alpha these dudes, like you keep them in check, this is my show, you gotta play by my rules.
You always get the idea that Ed Sullivan's like back behind the curtain while they're performing, and like he just has like a submachine gun and a cigar in his mouth in a dream, like just going like, I just want to fucking kill these fucking hippie freaks, like you could just totally tell he wants to. Then he's like, well, that's the Stones, they don't wash their hair, that was a big thing. Like, they don't wash their hair. Like, everybody's like, they don't cut it and they don't wash it. These guys are just like coming from a dumpster and stuff. So after Between the Buttons, you get the compilation album and then Satanic Majesties. Am I missing anything in between? I feel like there's one in between. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Not. Yeah, just compilations. I think as far as studio albums, Satanic Majesties. Next in line.
Here we go. Satanic Majesties Request. This is every band has this album. I think there's when you're a great band, and I view 10 years later as also another, like the late 70s, early 80s. What you do in the late 60s and early 70s is really important to me, because I think there's a lot of ways to screw it up during that time. Whereas like once you get in the middle of a decade, everybody kind of knows what everyone wants to hear a little bit. So it's easy to kind of do that. But this is kind of a no man's land kind of thing where everybody's doing hippie stuff, but like, what are you going to do? Like, you're a rock band. What are you going to do with the hippie thing? And in the late 70s, early 80s, it's kind of like, does rock exist anymore? Like, okay, punk came in. Is that the end of rock? And then also, are we going to do this new wave thing? And I think those eras right there, and I think the Stones passed both pretty well with flying colors, in my opinion, the late 70s, early 80s, and this late 60s period. So Satanic Majesty's Request is an album that it's kind of odd because like they're talking about, this is when Brian really starts falling off. And I think he's falling off well before this, but this is when it's like affecting the music a little. And Keith Richards is not that good of a guitar player yet, at least in the studio, which he then became one of the greatest studio guitarists ever, just after a while, because he was just such a good recording guy. Him and Jimmy Page are different because Jimmy Page, I think, is great in the studio as well. And I think some people hate on him live, even though I think Jimmy Page is phenomenal. I don't understand it. Guitar guys do this though.
The song remains the same. That's the best live performance I think of
since I've Been Loving You, when he just shreds that for like 20 minutes.
Like there's like the intro. I used to just sit there as a teenager holding my guitar, just doing this. Like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm just like playing, like pretending to be Jimmy Page.
I won't hear bad words about Jimmy Page. I'm just saying.
And because he's the only guitarist, like he's doing, like Keith needs a second guy on stage.
He needs it so bad. The dichotomy.
Jimmy Page doesn't need that. You know, he plays the leads, the rhythm, and all. And you know, and because they got such a solid rhythm section, not that the Stones don't, but you know, like
the dichotomy. What's really funny about the Stones is that the paradox of the Stones is that it is Mick and Keith's band, but like I don't know that you can use the term lead is the one that they need.
No,
Keith, it's not lead, but you need a guitarist that can solo, I guess is kind of what happens, and because Keith will come up with all the riffs and stuff, but like live, he needs that extra guy, that 1A, 1B is what you
I remember as a teenager trying to figure out, like, is Keith Richards the lead guitarist or is he playing rhythm? But it's like, what he calls it is like weaving, like, you know, him and Ronnie now, like they sort of switch. Sometimes Ronnie solos, sometimes Keith solos. Like you'll see them, they'll just like be playing like the and then they sort of switch, and then like one guy starts getting the like slide thing going, and then they jump back and forth. Like it's like, you know, it's a thing of beauty to watch.
Yeah. So now this album, they are in a quandary because Brian Jones he's the type of drug addict that's like, I'm not doing anything right now because I'm so high. That's the problem with Brian Jones, is he takes everything. If everybody's at 10, he goes to 11. And for a while, that was, in terms of creativity, that really helped them. But when it came to like, we trashed a hotel room and Brian Jones is like, I put a bomb in it. Like, he's like one of those guys. Like, you're just like, dude, what the fuck? Like you know, like, or just like we fuck a lot of girls. He's like, I punched all my girls, and you're like, dude, stop beating them.
Yeah, he broke his hand on Anita's face.
That is one of the funnier stories. Yeah. Did you end up watching We'll talk about Anita.
Yeah, I did. Catching Fire.
It's great. It's a great documentary, and I love that they paint her as like at the beginning as this. She's just unfortunately was at the crossroads, and then like halfway through the movie, they're like, she's a fucking demon drug addict that like is like.
And the movie still paints her more positively than Keith.
They try, does. but there's only so much they can do. That's what I love about that documentary. They're still like, but once we tell you this story, you're all gonna be like, what? Like, because even my wife was like, oh yeah, you're in the Ginsberg Burroughs like kind of era, and then you get into the Stones there. I can understand where a woman gets kind of lost in that and stuff like that. And then after a while, they're like, yeah, she's like then spoon feeding her son heroin at the Exile on Main Street house. You're like, oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm sure she was forced to do that. And so it's just, that part's really funny. So we will talk about Anita. She's a big part of it here. But Brian is, so the thing is they, I think in a genius sense, and maybe we are in agreement on this album, because I think this is the best thing you could do when you lost your main guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
Just go full psychedelic. Full.
And like even Bill Wyman wrote a track for it and sung on it.
It's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I will say, I think it sounds more evil than others say. I think legitimately they were doing something kind of evil. It's kind of
because of the name, it makes you immediately.
I think some of the music is scary. A little bit.
It's like it's got that bad vibes psychedelia thing, like the bad trip thing happening.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. This is not like I don't want to be in the world of it. Yeah, you're right.
Like a band I really don't like because I think they have terrible vibes as the Mamas and the Papas. Like there's something about
they're so
you agree?
Scary. They are so scary.
If their songs come on the radio, I'm just like I have a bad time. Like usually I can block out annoying music, but I'm just like and it's meant to be. Yeah, was it anyway? Whatever. I could go on about that. For
No,
10
when they
minutes,
when you because when I read Weird Scenes in the Canyon and they're like talking about like all of these things about the Dave McGowan book, and you're talking about like Mamas and the Papas, and like you're telling me all these like things that maybe I didn't know, but I'm like, no, that's all in the music. Like I knew he's like fucking freak molesting his own kids. Like that's what the music sounds like. Honestly, that's how I feel about Frank Zappa too. That might be a hot take, but Frank Zappa is the same way. I'm like, this is evil. I listen to this, I'm like, this is bad. I
haven't delved too much through his stuff. The only album I own is the one that the live album with Captain Beefheart, and I like that album.
Yeah, Beefheart, but Beefheart rules though. So that I agree with. Yeah,
I've never really. I only know like that Bobby Brown song and a couple of other like random.
I don't like him at all, man. Like it's not for me, and I think he's just bad vibes, man. Like I just think I think it's weird when you're the sober guy. Like I just think that whole thing is weird. Like where I'm like, so you're doing all this without drugs? That's weird. You know, like so what that I don't know. That's just my problem with a lot of this stuff. This era is very interesting because that's where all this is intersecting. But I think Citadel is a awesome song.
Fuck yeah.
That song rules. And I was like that to me, I put up with a lot of Stone songs. Like, and I think She's a Rainbow is awesome. I know it's like,
hell yeah.
It's on like a fucking like, you know, it's on like a Urban Outfitters like commercial now or whatever. But it's like, it's gone to a point where like, that's the problem with a lot of Stone songs is like, you'll hear like Jumping Jack Flash on like an Amazon Prime commercial. And you're like, okay, you know, it's not, it's so divorced from what it once was. But like I think She's a Rainbow is awesome. I love the like this is their most Beatles album. That's probably why I like it. And like especially with those little piano interludes, those really like just like kind of silly piano interludes that are on here. 2000 Light Years from Home rules. I love that song. I liked it. I think it's good. It's a little scary, and it's not because of the name. Like even if I didn't know what the name was, I'd like this is odd and scary, but I think they seem to be very embarrassed about it. And I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't think they should be like, and like, you know, if I'm glad this is the only album they made like this. But I remember like when I first got it, because it had this like, when you even hear, you're like, wait, they had an album with satanic in the title in the 60s? Because there's that band, the Brian Jonestown Massacre.
That's right.
And they're like, you know, the Brian Jones in their name, and that's their logo. But they also have an album called Their Satanic Majesty's Second Request, and that's one of their better albums. They're a band that has a lot of terrible albums, but they have good songs. Like, I met them once actually. It was kind of Anton was kind of a dick, but that's to be expected. But anyway, so that's how I kind of.
Are there any nice guys named Anton?
Yeah, doubt it.
I don't. Anton Chigurh. I don't really care for Anton Chigurh. I wouldn't want to meet him.
No. I'm not
Anton LaVey. Not a fan.
yeah, true. But so yeah, like that's when I was like, oh, it's referencing the Stones, and then like, you know, I bought this record, and it took me a couple of listens to get into it. But yeah, like the songs you say, like Citadel, 2000 Light Years from Home, those songs immediately popped out. And I even like the goofy sing this all together stuff, like on with the show kind of thing. Like,
I love all that. I love all that.
Mm-hmm. And like the more you listen, this is one of those ones like every time I listen to it, I feel like it gets better. And the bits that I didn't like, even there's that bit with like that dun, 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 it's like a Sid Barrett kind of. I'm like, after a few listens, I'm like, I kind of dig this. It's fun.
That's why you can't put like the Stones discography on shuffle if you have it in your car, because like just that song comes on, you're like, what the fuck is this? And you're like, oh yeah, I like it on the album, like in the span of the album in there. And no, I get it, because I will say, like, anybody who hated it in 1967, I don't think is like bad, because that's you got to react to this in real time. We're reacting to
People
it.
Hated
like,
Rubber Soul when it came out. They were like, this is fucking crazy. This one.
Elvis Costello talks about that. He was like, I was the biggest Beatles fan. I fucking sprinted to the store to buy it. Like sprinted to the store. I bought it, and it was like Willy Wonka. Like when he gets the golden ticket, he puts it on, and he's like, "This is ass." And then, but he's like, I sat with it for like a week, and I kept going. Like, I cannot dislike this Beatles album. Like, I don't get it. He's like, but all my mates at school hated it. And then he puts it on. He's like, I finally just something unlocked in me. He's like, no. They're ahead of the game here with this. Like, this is. And the thing is, I would love to even say that about Satanic Majesty's Request, where they're ahead of the game. They immediately abandoned that sound. Like, so they're not ahead of anything. They're just like, that was what you did in 1967 as a band. And you had to kind of just it's like an acid trip where you just have to grit your teeth and like get through something. And I think for doing that, it's pretty good.
You know, it was the original title for it was?
Oh, no.
Cosmic Christmas.
That would have been cool too.
Yeah. Like they wouldn't have to change the cover at all. Like, you know?
Yeah, that would have been cool too. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, like, I think it was like Mick was like filling out a passport application and said like Her Britannic Majesty's request or something. So he was just like, well, what if it was like our Satanic Majesty's request?
Yeah.
Or their Satanic Majesty's request. So like that's what that is. And it's also because, you know, they're getting called Satanists and stuff in the press.
Right.
So they're kind of like leaning into it a bit to be like,
yes,
you know, but then they're doing it in that like Jimmy Page moons and planets kind of Satan, like the colorful 60s Satanism, you know. Now it's all you associate with like sigils and black metal bands and spikes, but back then it was like this colorful kind of hippie thing.
Oh, sure. No, I mean, and you know, if you know anything about Satan, he's meant to entice you. That's why I think Brian Jones
with the times.
That's why I think Brian Jones is a little kind of demonic and scary, because like everybody wanted to be around him and they felt drawn to him. And even in his like worst times, they're like, I hope Brian's okay. You know, like everybody's just doing that. And he's obviously virtuoso, gifted, talented person, but like he makes everybody around him miserable and terrible and stuff, and brings out the worst in everybody else around him. So that's why I think there's kind of like a bit of a purging happening, a slow purge happening with this album a little bit. And then by the time Beggar's Banquet happens, they're like not even Mike. He's like playing something different in the studio while they're like recording and stuff. He's just like jamming, and they're like, Brian's just over like the autistic kid with an iPad in the corner. They're like, he's doing something over there. That's Brian. You know,
or he'd just be too drunk to just do anything and fall asleep.
I know. Exactly. So before we get on to the next album, I'm gonna use the restroom and refill my water because we have
me too.
Yeah. All right. I had to go grab a beer too. I was like, it's 5 o'clock right now. So I'm like,
I got a Coke because it's a bit early.
It's a bit early.
Zero sugar one. Fuck.
Sweet. So talking about the satanic element of it, I think we should just talk about this right now. I love paranormal, this and that, spirituality. I have a hard time finding it with the Stones in terms of like they were channeling Satan. Like there are legitimately people who are doing like satanic stuff. I think like if you like you'll hear it in the music like pretty explicitly, like the hurdy-gurdy man like Donovan. I'm like, that's a Satan song. I love it, by the way. It's an awesome song, but it's just like when Fincher uses it in Zodiac too, you're like, oh god, that song is evil. And there's a lot of like, I think Jimmy Page was very much into that like occultist stuff, like alchemy, like, you know, drinking your piss type. Like David Bowie, absolutely into it. Some of my favorite artists ever. So I don't avoid that. And I know it was a big time phase with them, but I also don't think the Stones were overtly religious at all. Therefore, they didn't fear channeling that energy, I think, for a long time. I think they just saw it as this is the ultimate form of rebellion, right? Because you have these songs like Street Fighting Man, which we haven't even really talked about those yet. But like Street Fighting Man, like get in the streets and punch the police. Like we're the kids that are going to change the world or something. And like, I don't even know if they believed that per se, but I think they sensed that was the energy of what was happening. They're writers in a way, like authors are, where like a lot of the authors don't really live the things they're saying in their book. A lot of times it's fiction and stuff, but they know people that do, right? Not everyone's Henry Miller. Like not everyone's doing that. And I think oftentimes the people that do stuff like that are rarely ever Henry Miller type productive, because they get arrested, thrown in jail, die, you know, all sorts of things like that. Whereas I think the Satanism and the political activism are kind of the same in the Rolling Stones. They're one in one, where they're hanging out with Kenneth Anger in the same way they're hanging out with like political radical left people and stuff at the time in the late 60s. There's like that part in the Stanley Booth book that we reference a lot on here is where they're reading like the letters for like the Oakland Coliseum, which is a place I spent many years of my childhood going to. And it's like, get up, we're gonna do the capitalists are gonna
manifesto.
Oh, it's so cringe.
Yeah,
and it's just like they haven't changed.
Yeah, like hang the priests and stuff like that. They're saying
they haven't changed one bit. Like the style people, they used to make really good music. That's the problem, and that's the thing that's changed, is they don't do anything that's they don't do anything that makes it enticing anymore, other than like if you're mad at the world and want to watch Hassan Piker or something. Like,
well, the thing, I think the reason they don't make good music is in the 60s, there was always like these like A&R record exec guys that would be like leeching off the bands. They would find the new hot thing, make them sign a terrible contract, and they would be like exploiting them and getting all the money.
Right.
So now they're not doing that with bands. They're probably doing that with the actual like leftist organizations like Antifa and all of that. That's where the money is, that they're like getting donations. So because there's no like musical scene they can be like parasitical to. So they're not like, because while they're being parasites, they're also promoting the music and like shaping the image and things like that. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's why, you see like, once the rock musicians all figured out that they were going to get ripped off and they started like getting more savvy, rock and roll kind of died, and then it was like hip hop and stuff was like, and then they're like exploiting them. And so now they've just moved past music, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're exactly right. And they, Keith Richards does talk about understanding that maybe what they were doing in terms of Satanism and even the aesthetic, or just kind of poking around with it and having some fun, that he realized like that's not like some harmless thing. Like the joke, like, a lot of times these people, like you even see it with like modern quote unquote Reddit ass like Satanists, like they're not trying to channel Satan. They're trying to piss off a Christian. It's two different things. And they were doing
whether
that
you believe Satan's a real thing that you're like worshiping, or if it's just like a symbol for like, like I think a lot of them just like, modern Satanists I think tend to be atheists, and they just like the symbol of Satanism because it pisses off the Christians and the squares, and like they just protest like, people who they counter protest at the abortion clinics or whatever, like, protest the people who are protesting the abortion. But like, then there are the Satanists, and these people make no sense to me, who like literally worship Satan, and like I'm like, he's the bad guy, right? Like if you believe in him, shouldn't you like go the other way? Like I understand people like getting into like alchemy and magic and stuff, because there's also, they're not necessarily satanic things. Like a lot of them is like, they're taking quotes from the Bible and like invoking angels, and some people might say that is still like that's just the devil tricking them into doing black magic or whatever. And I have no idea the answer to that question. But like, so I think with the Stones and that, I don't know how satanic they got, if they were actually like worshipping Satan, but I think they were like into the mystical stuff. I watched this documentary on YouTube. It was called like The Secret Satanic Side of the Rolling Stones. It had nothing in it. It was an hour long. I know. Nothing in it was about their Satanism.
Everyone just tells you that. And that's my problem with like kind of the McGowan side of like music, like the Dave McGowan side of music, is it's kind of like they just pepper it in like it doesn't matter. Yeah. And then the Stones did it too. And you're like, but that's a big accusation. Like you like, if there's even just a slight, I'll meet you halfway on certain things, but you're not. You're just saying I have to believe that as part of this big rolling snowball effect of like these things that are happening. And I'm like, dude, I don't doubt that there's CIA agents all throughout this thing. I don't doubt that there's weird Manson occultist stuff happening. I mean, that stuff, they were so close to all that stuff, truly. I mean, they lived in Laurel Canyon for a while. Like it was they were around a lot of that stuff. I'm sure they saw some things that were like, oh, I don't want to be around that guy. Like I'm sure they saw plenty of those things. And I'm sure they were hanging out with Kenneth Anger, who is a legitimate Satanist. Kenneth Anger. I do find it funny that he lived to be like 100 years old, because that's how you're gonna rot in fucking hell. Is like they you squeeze every little bit of the lemon out in the material world. Where you're like, you're going to fucking hell, dude. So you're gonna meet him, I guess.
Have you ever watched any of his movies?
No, I'm frightened, to be honest. Like I'm not a big satanic panic
Scorpio
guy.
Rising is interesting. It doesn't feel super satanic. It's just like, it's like kind of like a homoerotic like motorcycle.
Yeah, because he was gay, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Like, so it's sort of it's like a music video. It's got like all this kind of like 50s rock and roll kind of,
I see,
like Johnny and the Hurricanes kind of music, and then it's kind of fun. Like it's worth a watch. I've seen a couple. I think I've seen Lucifer Rising, and that's like a weird like Egyptian spell thing. Like that one probably would freak you out if you were like had two gummies or something.
Yeah.
And then another one's like Inauguration of the Pleasure Dome. It was sort of a ballet. I fell asleep through it, to be honest. And that's the last time I ever tried watching any of his stuff. I was like, yeah, I get the gist. I think like when Jack did like a Perfume Nationalist episode.
That's
like,
the only way I know about him is that episode
Yeah.
that he did. Yeah, right. The one of the early. That was like a pretty early TPN episode.
Yeah.
So I that's the only time, and I don't really have a lot of interest in it. I will say, like Keith Richards did talk about one time that Anita Pallenberg and him, when they were living together at the time, they were kind of hanging out with Kenneth Anger and stuff, and they just like would go to their house, and their house would, like their own house without Kenneth Anger in it, would have just horrible vibes. I think Anita Pallenberg had this horrible sleep paralysis demon thing that she was dealing with, which I believe that stuff. So that's I know some people might laugh that off, and it's too junkies. So maybe
the entity.
Yeah, it's too, but I get it. Some people go, that's too junkies. You're probably like just fried out of your mind.
You can never know, you know.
Maybe, but they didn't stop doing drugs after that. So like, it's not like they like, you know, it's not like they found the right formula or something. And then that stuff went away. And I think Keith Richards said he just saw this weird like black entity, like just cloud thing happening at his door. And he was just like, I don't need to be around these people anymore. And that's part of growing up. That's like, we don't always get it in that like dramatic paranormal way in that sense, but like everybody's hanging out with like just a guy, you're like, I shouldn't be hanging out with this person. And before something goes horribly wrong, I need to get away from them. And I think more or less the Stones do a pretty good job of that. Keith Richards would always latch on to some other really stupid guy because of drugs and bring them around the band. Yeah. And you know, those are funny throughout the memoirs. Like, Nick didn't like my Jewish cowboy guy that I brought in. Sisler. Yeah, he didn't want to hang out with the Dole Pineapple heirs. Like, it's really funny. Like,
Nick didn't even like Bobby Keys.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
although like because he's like, you know, he crushes it on the saxophone, so whatever. But
it's your wife. It's like your wife. Like, I don't like that guy. He's like, dude, he's my fucking friend. I've known him since 7th grade. I don't like him, you know. And so it's just funny. So we have Beggar's Banquet. This is the end of Brian Jones here. We have Beggar's Banquet and the Rock and Roll Circus, which is the last time you see Brian Jones on camera, if I'm not mistaken. But Beggar's Banquet, I will say, I don't like this album as much as a lot of people do. I
love it.
You love it, okay?
Yeah.
So that's my problem. The studio version of No Expectations, I love the live version from just the way Mick sings it. Like that, to me, that is the main version. So when I hear it in studio form, it just is a little bit the same. And I'm not a big Sympathy for the Devil fan. The song, people love that song.
Oh yeah, because you just hear it a billion times on the radio.
I don't know. It just sounds weird. The rhythm to it, like the Godard film, where they're like, I actually think it sounds better. I think it sounds better at the beginning when they're trying to work through it as kind of like a cool, like swanky little like poetry jam song. Like I actually think it sounds kind of cooler that way. And then they work it into like the woo, woo, like all the fucking, you know, that's I've never liked that song. It's kind of one of the reasons I like as a kid, I was like, that's not as good as some of my other favorite bands, is because of songs like that. But I love Parachute Woman. I do like Street Fighting Man. I do like Street Fighting Man a lot. I love the guitar in it is just so good. Salt of the Earth Blues. I like Salt of the Earth. It's like a Marxist like coal miner song, but I like it a lot. And I really like it. Yeah,
I was really like the other night listening to it, and like it came on, I was having a drink, and I was like, yeah, all right, it's
fun. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, it's a fun like pub jam, like with the lads.
Yeah.
I like that. It's just, to me, we're entering like their best, like objectively best era, and I think this is the worst album of that, in my opinion, of that best era. So that's but please make the case.
Well, I don't know where to score it amongst them, because we are entering a great era. Like I just like Sympathy for the Devil is probably like, I could easily just like skip that first track and just go straight into No Expectations. I like that version. I love Dear Doctor, Parachute Woman, even Jigsaw Puzzle's fun. Street Fight Man's solid. Prodigal Son's good. Stray Cat Blues, I love Stray Cat Blues.
That's a great
song. Like that's like a real garage rocker, you know, like just the tone of the guitar and Mick's voice on that, like, and it's just like that is just a good one.
God, when they get it right, awesome. When they get it right, there's literally not a better band.
Yeah, Factory Girl, that's like kind of like a Highland Scottish kind of like
that one
song.
Those are the ones where I'm like, no, every band does this. Every British band has like their folksy like British song.
Like Led Zeppelin 3
The Beatles do it all the time. Like the
Yeah.
Beatles, where you're like, okay, I'm glad, and you realize they're doing it for morale. It's the same way that the Red Hot Chili Peppers have their like they have that song in the middle of like a good album, and you're like, oh, you're doing that's for you guys. That's for you guys to kind of like decompress with, and you love it more than I do, kind of thing. And then the folksy British, like, oh, I saw an old graveyard where a woman was buried and her name was Flippy Sorensen, and you know the song Flippy Sorensen's ballad comes from that, and they all do it. The Who do it. Every single British band does
the
it.
The Kinks do it a lot.
They all have to do it.
I think the Kinks do the British silliness the best. I don't particularly.
I gotta listen. I have never gone through it. My mom loves them. I told her the same thing. I was like, I've never listened. She goes, oh, the Kinks are great. My mom saw them live, and she said it was the worst show ever in the 80s because they all hated each other at the time.
The two brothers.
They said they had
like
a
the
meltdown.
Original Oasis, you know, like
they didn't want to do the show. Like they were just like mailing it in, and they were like yelling. You could tell they were like off mic yelling at each other, like you fucking idiot. Like she was like, it was actually a really bad. Unfortunately, she's like, I love their music. Like that was bad. She saw them in the 80s, so.
Their last album from '93 has a song called Hatred, a duet, and it's like 9 minutes long, and it's like Dave and Ray taking like alternating verses, and it's just like basically like you know, if you talk about me, I've got fucking dirt on you too, like, and it's like hatred's the only thing that keeps us together. Like it's like the best song on that album, and it's so vitriolic, and like the hatred's real, you know.
Yeah, I do need to do a Kinks dive at some point, like, because I just
we did it on Getting Lit, but if you do ever want to do a Kinks episode,
I'm not calling anybody else, Matt.
Sai will get in on it too, though. I know Sai likes the Kinks.
Yes, yes, he does. I know I'm going to like them. That's just a band I know I'm gonna like. So
you're gonna hate certain aspects of them. I think. I think some of their like vaudevillian, like theater stuff. I don't think you'll like it as much as I do, but you know, you're gonna listen to like Village Green and Arthur, and like you're gonna have like a good time during those records for sure.